move the power of determining how it is used directly from the member of parliament.
Right.
There's an NGC, there's a board that manages these things. And if one doubts it, look at the elections that we are about to have. Okay? Look at these elections and ask yourself, has the CDF been working even though they have not had a member of parliament? The answer will be yes. If the answer is no, then you'll have to give us the examples. If you think it is yes, again give us examples. What am I saying? It works. When you hear of MCAs utilizing money for travel and all manner of things that are contrary to the development that they should apply the money to, CDF on the other hand, one sees what it can do.
Yeah.
One sees what it has done. And it's in the constituency. There is no guarantee that if that money is given to the county government, that the constituencies within that county will actually get the money. There is no guarantee. Because if you are a county with 6 constituencies, it means you'll get 600 million. There's no guarantee that the equivalent of 100 million each will go to those counties. None whatsoever. And the reason why I say there's no evidence to support this is the manner in which we keep seeing county governments, MCAs, utilizing the money they have, which is in the billions. So when the evidence points to if more money is given, it'll go the same way as the others have gone. Yes. So as far as I'm concerned, let MPs benefit from that CDF money.
So Busia County topped the list, spending 64.4 million, followed by Baringo with 50.4 million, Homa Bay at 45 million, Embu at 30.6 million, and Elgeyo Marakwet at 28.1 million. Yeah, hivyo ndivyo ma MCs when wanakula pesa, wanachew that money. Let's just hope that whatever they sat and discussed for them to earn this allowance was actually worth it, and we'll get to see the fruits when the time is right, right? Why I'm resigning? Nairobi's Githurai MCA speaks. Yeah? Resigning? From what? From where? Hey, okay, let's hear this. This is interesting. Githurai Ward MCA Dionysius. Githurai Ward MCA Dionysius Mwangi Waithera has announced his resignation from the Nairobi County Assembly, citing repeated frustration with the county government's failure to deliver essential services and implement development projects. In a letter addressed to the Assembly Speaker on September 17th, 2025, Waithera said he could no longer serve under conditions he described as neglectful and unresponsive. And he went on to say this: I have resolved to step down due to persistent frustration with the failure of the county executive to implement projects and deliver basic services to the residents of Githurai Ward, he wrote. He added that his efforts have been met with neglect, delay, and disregard. The letter was also copied to the United Democratic Alliance Party and the minority leader and whip of the Assembly. However, the letter is yet to be received by the Speaker, as the Assembly is currently on long recess and is expected to resume its sitting at the end of the month. His resignation will take effect on Monday, November 1st, 2025. Waithera based the decision on Article 194 of the Constitution, Section 27 of the County Assemblies of the County Governments Act 2012, and the Assembly's standing orders, which allow a ward representative to resign by writing to the Speaker. So amesema, you guys are not doing anything. I've been telling you, I've been requesting for monies and projects to be done, and there's nothing happening. So what am I doing here? I'm drawing a salary for nothing. I'm out. I'm done. Kwaheri kuonana.
And after resigning, where exactly are they going?
I guess he'll go back to Githurai just to chill.
Fine. That sounds like a man of principle.
Yeah.
Was it a woman of principle?
It is a man. He's called again Dionysius. I'm not sure I'm saying this correctly, but Mwangi Waithera.
Dionysius.
Yeah, Dionysius. Kitu kama hiyo.
It's an interesting name, that one. Yes.
So jamaa ameamua kumonchoka, as the Gen Z would say, from his position as an MCA. So now,
did he consult the people who elected him?
I don't know if he has.
Should he not have?
I mean, by the time he's saying that he's resigning,
I'm not taking anything for granted.
Well, I also don't want to assume, but
we don't know.
We don't know.
Yes.
As of now.
Because that story would have been complete. The same manner in which he went to ask for votes, he should have Tracy steps back and go to the people and say, folks, thank you for giving me this job. I can't do this thing.
Na sasa akienda uliza watu, okay, watu watamwambiaje?
But he then went to look for their votes. It is his job to tell them, yes, that he does not want the job anymore. There is employers. He's not his own employer. He's not self-employed. No.
But the funny thing is, the story says that he hasn't given the speaker that letter. So is this also one of those stunts?
Could very well be. You see, there are gaps in the story. And I'm just simply adding to the gaps. That's all.
Ndiye arudi Githurai aseme unaona hata nilikuwa nataka kutoka. Wakanikataza kutoka.
Yes, that one.
Lakini sasa hata bado hawafanyi hizo vitu tunataka.
The thing is this. Maybe this is his way of campaigning for something bigger. Maybe he wants to be MP.
Yeah. So he resigns in advance.
To show that he is a man of principle. There's not enough information in this story for us to draw any solid conclusions. Nah.
Because if he actually goes through with his resignation, resignation, he will be the first person to, in my opinion, to first of all in the whatever of Kenya, the political makeup of Kenya, to actually have resigned his position, an elected position. Because I cannot remember anyone who's ever been elected and resigned. And if there is, maybe I wasn't
there are people who resigned. Yes.
Kama nani?
There's a gentleman called Ugo who was MP for Bondo when Jaramogi was in detention.
You see, I wasn't born. I knew it.
I'm explaining to you so that you understand. It's historical. When Jaramogi came out, he resigned so that Jaramogi could take that position. There's a gentleman whose name escapes me from Muranga, who at the time Jomo Kenyatta came back and to be in the Legico, the Parliament, the Legislative Assembly, you need to be an MP. He resigned his position as MP so that Jomo Kenyatta could be the MP.
So these people didn't do it out of principle, what. They did it because there was an agenda that needed to be, and I'm sure they were fairly compensated.
They felt, maybe not, maybe we don't know, but it's like they felt this was a better leader than I, so I was elected, yes. But we didn't have this dictum of public participation then. So the logic behind the resigning, I don't know. The negotiations that took place, I don't know. I'm merely stating the facts.
Yeah.
Okay? But people resigning their positions so that somebody else can campaign, that is something we have seen. Yes. In this case, I'm not certain that this is among those situations that we now see.
Yeah.
And then we had also the crossing of the flow in 1968, where when KPU was formed, members of parliament of KANU now formed their own party. So you had to resign that position first and go for a fresh election. Because you're now in a new party.
Yes.
Yes.
So jamaa ameacha mshahara ya 300k. That is kama ata go through na resignation yake.
We will wait and see. Yes. Whether he's a man of principle or whether he's the man of gimmickry, we will see.
Hii asipo resign tunajua ilikuanga ni gimmicks.
Well, we will see, but he's a politician.
Bwana so, watu si wajenga bwana. Tunajuanga hii mambo bwana. If the county assembly speaker doesn't receive his resignation, tutajua bwana walikuwa wanajaribu kutubeba ujenga bwana. Family of Benedict Kabiru pursues legal action over status of missing officer. So there's this whole story of kunaitwa kule watu walienda kule kupigana Haiti. The family of Benedict Kabiru Kuria, a Kenyan
bwana kutuliza
ni sawa.
Yes, sio kupigana. Wao hawakwenda kupigana.
Walienda kupigana na gangs.
Hapana.
Cheki city. Mimi ndo nasoma hii story.
And I'm trying to tell you hawakwenda kupigana.
Lakini walienda kupigana na the gangs.
No.
Call a spade a spade.
No, walienda kutuliza.
Cheki.
Hali.
Bro, wanapigana na gangs wa Haiti.
Bro, tufanya hivi hatuko huko, endelea na story.
Lakini just so you know, bullets have been fired. That's a fight. The family of Benedict Kabiru Kuria, a Kenyan police officer who vanished in Haiti while on a peacekeeping mission, has taken legal action against the government, demanding
nini mission?
Peacekeeping. Okay, sawa, city umeshinda. Yeah, so the family of Benedict Kabiru Kuria, a Kenyan police officer who vanished in Haiti while on a peacekeeping peacekeeping mission has taken legal action against the government, demanding confirmation of whether he is alive or dead. They are seeking details on steps taken to trace him and insist on direct communication regarding his status. The case was mentioned virtually at the Milimani Law Court on Thursday, where senior counsel Mbuvi Gadhenji, representing Kabiru's mother Jacinta Wanjiku and his uncle Daniel Kabiru Ndongo and his brother Philip Kamau Kuria, opposed an application by State Counsel Betty Mwasao to adjourn proceedings. Kabiru went missing in March when a Kenyan convoy under the Multinational Supply Support, that is MSS, was attacked by armed gangs. The officers had reportedly been assisting in a Haitian National Police vehicle stuck in a ditch, suspected to be a trap set by the gangs when the ambush occurred. Yeah. Well, you know, I actually never thought that the situation in Haiti would turn out to be this bad. I thought once our police men and did they send women?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I thought when they sent our National Police Service officers that perhaps things would just, you know, calm down, the country of Haiti gets back to normalcy, and then some kind of transition happens, and our boys and girls in blue come back, and, you know, we congratulate them for our job well done.
When you go for peacekeeping, what exactly are you doing?
You're going to kutuliza hali, na nilidhani wataituliza na mambo yangekuwa shwari.
There is a state of war that has been going on for quite some time, and the war has been amongst the gangs. Okay, some of the people who even ran those gangs, we are told, had been police officers or trained security people for the country.
Actually, one of the gang leaders was a former, I think, like police commissioner or something.
So what I'm trying to say is this: when you have a situation of that nature, okay,
yeah,
until peace is restored, which means these gangs have arrived at an understanding to stop killing each other, there'll be no peace. But you cannot look at this situation in Haiti without looking at the background. That history, it has a rich history of violence. Rich. Violence took these Africans to that island. Removed them from their countries, took them there. Violence brought them the independence, making it the first black African country to actually have independence on planet Earth. Violence. That history has continued.
Yeah.
The land that is Haiti is also violent. The land itself.
Yeah.
They are subject to tremors, there are earthquakes, what have you. So it's a country that has many troubles, but it's a country that is also very rich in mineral resources. It's a country that has very many Western nations with an interest in it. So this instability serves their purpose to some degree.
Yeah.
Anyway, the history can continue another day.
Yeah, but this is I'm feeling for the family of Benedict Kabiru Kuria. I'd hate to assume the worst, but you know, the worst part about waiting for bad news is the waiting part. Sometimes it's not even the bad news, because even when you receive the bad news, sometimes it sort of like lifts that heavy burden of having to wait. But you know, the waiting, and everyone is assuming the worst. Everyone could be and we're not saying that perhaps he's dead. You know, after all this, maybe at another particular time he's been held somewhere for ransom. The Kenyan government has been negotiating.
You have a really imaginative mind.
Ni ukweli bro, ni ukweli, cause unaweza pata tu wasome mweka tu mali wamemnyamazisha tu, hata hakuna communication, na maybe gava inajua na wanajaribu kuongea na hawa watu.
There's your mind running away.
And no.
All right, let's give it some speed, shall we?
Please continue. Yes. I mean, na inaweza kuwa ni maybe gava itaki kuambia say that look, your person is alive, because they also don't want to get their hopes high, because something can go wrong, things can go south. So
they decide to make it known that this person has died instead.
No, they just keep it there. Atusemi ako alive ama ako dead, because maybe gava inajua ako alive and they are negotiating. Maybe the gangs in Haiti that are, you know, holding him, maybe they're like, give us $1 million USD, we release this guy. And then the government is like, hamupati shilingi. Nasema tupatieni by Friday ama umse manzi mtamuona. Hamupati shilingi. And maybe familia kuri wako inauliza, bro, umse yako wapi? Gavana sema unajua hatujui manzejo. Hatujui.
Right, the script, that movie script is good. Please read more news. Hiyo nimesikia. Soma news ingine.
I honestly do hope that the family of Mr. Kuria get the answers they deserve. Right now, though, it's time for that traffic update. Let's see what's happening on the roads of Nairobi.
This is Radio Generation.
Brace yourself. Nairobi, Mogadishu City versus Kenya Police FC, September 20th at Nyayo Stadium. The CAF Champions League qualifier. Want free tickets? Listen, play and win on Radio Generation 88.8. Get your tickets at
langopass.com. Radio Generation 88.8 Nairobi. This is Radio Generation.
All right, so check it.
New Jack Swing. Traffic.
All right, let's check out the road of Nairobi. I'm looking at Haile Selassie Avenue right now. Looking absolutely fantastico. No complaints coming from that end. Bunyala Road pia hakuna complaints zote zina come through. I'm looking at Airport North Road, also looking good at this particular hour. Langata Road, no complaints as well. Southern Bypass looking green. Mombasa Road as well, coming all the way from Kite. The only place that you're going to encounter traffic, as I can see, Apani. Which part of the road is this? Oh yeah, you see, after that Airport North Road intersection with Old Mombasa Road, after that, if you're heading into Nairobi, there's a little bit of traffic as you're approaching Maradaima, but after that, it looks like it's gonna cost you maybe 10 minutes of delay. After that, everything is looking good. If you're heading into Nairobi CBD, well, you can also opt to use a different road, probably the expressway, but after that, actually no complaints. Looking at Thika Superhighway also, no complaints coming through from that area. Wayakiwe looking good at this particular hour. Lower Kabeto Road, hamna shida yoyote. But if anything is happening where you are and you think it's of importance, please let us know.
Traffic on Radio Generation.
Front page of the Standard newspaper. What are they saying? Wind of change. Wave sweeps Africa as incumbents are shown the door after one term. Across Africa, the myth of the untouchable incumbent is crumbling. From Lilongwe to Gaborone, from Dakar to Lusaka, the winds of change are sweeping away presidents who once believed elections were mere rituals. Corruption, economic despair, and a restless youth bulge are rewriting the rules of power. And the fall of Malawi's Lazarus Chakwera is only the last or the latest tremor in a continent rumbling with revolt. Okay, so you can find that on the front page of the Standard. Tutors raise a stink over Shah Shoka. A storm is brewing over 20 billion teachers medical scheme as President Ruto orders all 460,000 tutors into the fledgling social health authority by December 1st. That one you can read on page 6. Yeah. Back page, gold medalists Kipyegon Chebet line up 5,000 meter clash for world double. That is what is printed there at the very back page. Looking at the Star newspaper, shock as county wage bills rise by 11 billion in a year. Stories on page 4 to 5. XCS Matiang'i chides Ruto on failed state capture probe. E-procurement here to stay, CS Mbadi says. Varsities halt operations as Dawn's strike intensifies. That you can read on story on page 2. So if you want to get more on that one, get your Star newspaper. Siasa pull out on a real history and daunting challenges as ODM turns 20, page 4. And then in sports, the Sport Pesa League is back. Cash, glory, and rivalries set to ignite new season. That one is on the back page. Yeah, that is as far as your sports news is concerned. Wanjiru hopes to reignite marathon winning spark in Berlin this weekend. If we focus for a minute on this story on the Standard newspaper, the front page, winds of change. Wave sweeps Africa as the incumbents are shown the door after one term. Yeah. Kunae Mogwetsi Masisi, former president of Botswana, who ruled that country from 2018 to last year. Macky Sall, former president of Senegal from 2012 to 2024. And then Nana Akufo-Addo, former president of Ghana from 2017 to 2025. And then we have the latest one, Lazarus Chakwera, president of Malawi. Mwenye ameambiwa, my friend, it is time to go. For a very long time, just like the Standard have said, that indeed people thought that the incumbent kumtoa unless amekufa ama yeye mwenyewe aseme ni aje, I am giving this position to CT.
That was a dominant narrative because one, you will find that very many of these African countries you speak of, there had been a dominant political party right from independence.
Yes.
And when that change came about, other parties came into being. There are places where the parties came into being and you more or less had to have a coalition in order to rule. Some new parties came up and became now those who represented, whose leadership brought about the president. But by and large, if you find countries where the independence bringing party is still in force, that rule still applies.
Yeah.
But that term, that as it is used, it was first used by a certain gentleman who was the Prime Minister of the UK in the periods preceding what we saw as the many changes that brought about independence in Africa.
Right.
Something that he supposedly said in Cape Town. Talks about the winds of change that are sweeping across the continent of Africa. Gentleman by the name of Macmillan. Okay, so when he mentioned thus, what then followed was late 50s, few countries, then many countries in the early 60s on this continent of Africa getting their independence. Yes.
Which is now we're seeing a different
wind of change.
Yes, we are seeing that.
These changes usually come about as a generational change as well. And the generational change is often accompanied by the level of understanding and knowledge that people then have acquired of the world in which they live. That generational change can best be summarized by what we call the African continent as a young continent. The vast majority of all our populations are youthful. And when they vote, let me repeat this and underline and circle it.
Yes.
When they vote, then that tide you're talking about becomes evident. So just being large in number means nothing. Beyond that, there are very many.
Yeah.
But when they vote,
I remember when you said earlier at the beginning of the People's Breakfast, you asked and actually you said that the youth vote has not been tested. But
no, it hasn't.
I think that it is being tested in other areas.
In this country?
No, not in this country. On this continent. And I feel like if you look at what is happening in Ghana, what happened in Malawi, what has happened in Senegal, and what has happened in these other countries, Botswana, bro, hiki tutafanyika, inaweza fanyika pa Kenya pia.
It can. If you're talking about winds of change, and you look at the UK, and you look at just the last 3 years and the number of times that they have changed prime ministers, you could say the winds of change are universal. But if you look again at countries like Italy, you look at countries like Israel, before this genocide that is now going on, when those people changed prime ministers, governments came and fell because all their governments are coalition governments. So because they're coalition governments, if one member of the coalition moves away, that government, they have to redo the whole thing. So for them, the winds of change can't be a discussion because that seems to be what is normal for them. Something happens, out, somebody else comes in. Something else happens, out. Though the details of this in and out sometimes are not just the party leaving, but the reasons why they have left. Okay? In Britain, it stands out because one, this is something on which is subject of debate, both philosophical and real, in the sense, at what point do leaders lead and convince the populace that what they're doing is right? And at what point do they listen to the emotional leanings of the populace in making decisions? I refer to Brexit.
Okay.
See, at that particular point in time, the leadership felt they needed to be apart. The events that have followed point to perhaps that decision was hastily made, because the stability that was recognized by leaderships within parties staying over a period of time, that has since been demolished. This particular Prime Minister, a gentleman called Stammer, the number of resignations that this fellow has had, my goodness, is record-breaking. Ministers, no less. So I'm simply saying that there are decisions that sometimes people make, and at the time, leadership involves understanding what the people think is the right thing.
Yes.
The sentiment and the emotions, and knowing strategically what you need to convince the people to do, because that, from the position of leadership, is the right thing for them to do. So these winds of change that we speak of, what category do they fall in? Is it emotional decisions that people are making because of failed leadership, or is it something calculated and thought of and strategic, and they realize this fellow and is not going to serve the interests of this country.
You know, people make decisions because of various reasons. Some of them could be tactical, some of them could be emotional, some of them could actually be rational. We are making this change because of ABCD. But you see, at the end of the day, the various reasons might all be pointing to the same outcome. We don't want CT. Wanacheki. Why don't we want CT? Me, I don't want CT because he has grey hair. I don't want CT because he's very old. I don't want CT because I don't feel he comes from my tribe. I don't want CT because I feel he has failed this station. I don't want CT because of at the end of the day, various wants or various not wants will guarantee a single outcome. At the end of the day, it's about CT and him not being there. You get? So whether people wake up on the voting day come 2027 and they do not want their leaders or a specific leader because of various reasons, at the end of the day, the outcome is going to be one.
There are always backlashes when people make certain statements that threaten the status quo. And the status quo is what we're referring to there, where once elected, people are hoping that they can actually stay for life. But then the winds of change that brought about democracy forces them now to go into an election which they really don't want. I mean, when Macmillan talked about the winds of change,
yes,
it was in South Africa, Cape Town. That thing didn't go down well with the Prime Minister then. I don't know how the name is pronounced, but it's written Veerwood. He protested, talked about the white supremacist views and what have you. And even those who are pro-British imperialism, they opposed it seriously. What's this guy talking about? Huh? I mean, we love our colony and we want this thing to continue. It reflects on the understanding that leadership does not have to be for life or for a very long period of time. You are given an opportunity to lead. If that leadership is found wanting, you're told, thank you very much, we're looking for somebody else. Now that, in my mind, is an excellent check and balance. You know that your performance is going to be key to your staying in power, not your rhetoric or the political party. You see, that's a problem Tanzania has, because Tanzania has had a dominant party, Chama cha Mapinduzi, for the longest since independence. So it's difficult. But when you look at what happens in Tanzania, they realize that the opposition cannot be ignored. How they jail these people, how they treat those in the opposition. Let's go to Uganda. Not very dissimilar. They're not ignoring the opposition. They understand what the opposition can achieve. They understand it. Okay. So again, when we have a headline that, like the winds of change, they've justified that headline very well in the Standard. Very. Yes.
All right. What's on your side of the paper?
Right. Business Daily. Standard fights new pension claims from 325 former workers. Standard Chartered Bank has rejected a last-minute request by 325 former workers to be included in the payment of past undervalued pensions. Okay. Right. Let's see how this fight moves on. Right. U.S. tech firms, by the way, let me just comment.
Yes.
When you farm out something like pensions to people who are experts in pensions, it is assumed that you would give them instructions to ensure that people who are still being paid their pension on a monthly basis are included in any benefits that may accrue to the new people. It is assumed. And if it isn't, then you have a situation such as the one we're reading about.
Yes.
U.S. tech firms step up their push to quash Kenya's digital tax. U.S. tech giants, including Microsoft and Netflix, want Kenya to axe its digital tax, flagging it as a trade barrier. How? He says, how is a tax a trade barrier? How?
Digital tax.
Yeah. Their business is digital, remember? Yes.
What I know is that digital content creators for the last couple of months have been complaining that whole issue of the government wanting to tax.
Why are they complaining?
Earnings. Because number one, the government has done absolutely nothing to ensure that they have a smooth running digital
what you've
space.
said is absolutely not true, but continue.
Yes. So I'm telling you what they have said.
And I'm saying it is absolutely not true, and I've said continue.
So they wonder why. For example, if you want to tax this building or the businesses within this building, chances are it's because you've provided access to this building. That means it's easy even for our customers to get here. It's easy for us as the vendors to get here. It's easy for business to be conducted because you've provided security. We have police stations across, and we have police officers patrolling this particular area. Our garbage is being taken care of by the Nairobi County. So if you're going to we actually see where our tax is going. So if we are being taxed the VATs or the withholding taxes, tunaona malio pesa inaenda. Okay? Because tunaona inalipa askari, inalipa barabara, and so on and so forth. Now, for the digital space, you want to take, let's even call it the withholding tax, and then what exactly are you going to do with it? Because the internet I am using, the government hasn't provided. The phone I have bought to produce content with, perhaps the government, I bought it with my own money. If I'm using cameras, I bought them with my own money. The government didn't give me cameras. The government didn't give me the building I am using to produce content on, or I'm paying rent for that particular. So serikali haijanisaidia chochote in any way whatsoever for me to produce this content. So that is their argument. So you want to tax, you want to reap where you have not sown. That is the argument of content creators out there.
The propagators of that particular narrative seem to think that they live in a bubble and an ecosystem outside the country. Even if all the government does is issue a license for certain service providers to function, they have made it possible for you to use that service. It's not complicated.
But I can also argue that if it's an ISP, an internet service provider that I'm using, that internet service provider, I'm buying those bundles.
Yes, you are.
And I'm paying my taxes through those bundles. That particular ISP is also paying taxes to the gava. So what they're saying is tosheka na hiyo shapata. Tosheka hiyo tax yenye ninabuy bundles nayo, tosheka na hiyo.
Are you taxed because you produce content, or are you taxed because you're making money from the content?
The idea here, of course, you're being taxed because you're making money from that particular content.
Yes.
So they're saying, if you want to tax me, it's okay, but can you show me how you're helping me produce this content so that I can see where my tax is actually going? For example, are there any subsidies?
All right.
Why
don't we bring that discussion to the work we do here? Let's take the view we are being paid X.
Right.
What has the government done for us to be paid X? We could argue we are the ones who have the content, we're the ones who invite the guests. Couldn't we?
Yeah.
So why is the government taxing whatever it is that we are earning? Why?
Yeah.
And we've already provided the service.
But like I said, for example, this building that we are in, it has ensured that our customers, our clients, or our what are they called, our guests, are able to get here well because the roads have been constructed to this building. So we are paying taxes because the government has actually provided infrastructure for this to get here. Electricity that we are using here has been provided by Kenya Power. So we are paying for that infrastructure to ensure that we have power in here and to ensure that it doesn't go off. We are paying for security, like I mentioned. Our guests can come here safely and they can conduct business here safely because they know for a fact that they are safe while they are at what? They are at Radio Generation Kenya. So to that extent, it makes sense. The frequencies we're using here are actually provided by the government. So we are paying government to have the frequencies that we are using here. Yeah. So to that extent, us paying taxes to Gava actually makes sense.
You actually argued my case for very well. Thank you.
But for digital content creators, let's take a content creator who's an influencer, for example. Huyu ni influencer wa simu. Kwa mfano anasema, you can buy this phone for X amount of money and then whatever, and you can get it at this shop. How has the government helped me as an influencer market that phone that I'm selling online?
Just follow your argument. You'll find it.
Gava is idea of content creator, and anyway, content creator aliamuka.
Even us, does the government help me to wake up in the morning? It doesn't. Does the government bring me to work? It doesn't.
It has not provided infrastructure for me to ensure that I have produced that content.
The ecosystem in which you exist has been provided for you by the government. It's not complicated.
No. To be honest, I am not for the idea of taxing content creators.
Everybody should pay their bit. It's not complicated.
I am for the idea, tax them if you have assisted them, helped them, and enhanced their business production activities. But the government hasn't. Show me what the government has done for let's even take an example of someone like Steve Simple Boy. I don't know if you know who that is. But
Paul, you're chasing your tail.
No.
We live in an ecosystem, and everything that you're referring to here, whether by inference or direct reference, the government has a say in it. Now, if you think that content creators should not be taxed, then go to another country where they're not taxed. It's not complicated.
You see, kitambo, mababa na wamama kwa nyumba walikuwa wanasema anything under this roof is theirs. Even if it's yours, it's theirs. So if you happen to have met some random person in the street and that person gifted you with 100 shillings, for example, and then you came back with it at home and you put that money on your dressing table, and then in the morning your father comes and finds that 100 bob, he will take it away. And then when you tell him, daddy, your pesa young, he's like, no. Do you work? No. So everything under this roof, including this money, is mine.
And you think so the father was wrong?
I feel like I feel like the government is taking that approach. Nimeenda huko nje, mimi nimepatana na my uncle maybe, or my aunt, or a friend of mine, or my father's friend. Okay? My friend's father. Yeah, my friend's father. Na akipatia mtoto wake 100, pia mimi akanipatia 100. So baba yangu hajanisaidia kupata hiyo 100. Mimi hiyo 100 nimehustle venye nimehustle.
You are who you are because your father is who he is. So stop explaining around this thing. You wouldn't exist if your father didn't exist. It's not complicated.
Sasa unaona.
I'm trying to explain to you that you're talking yourself around in circles.
No.
Because you want to support the view that content producers and their ilk should not pay taxes. Brother.
Yes.
That logic falls flat on its face. It should look for some other logic and narrative to justify what they want.
The government,
and by the way, this thing isn't justified by you saying no 100 times.
Yes.
No. This thing is justified when you are willing to open your mind to understanding how the government works. This particular government that we have.
So the government should just come and tax.
No, they should not. If they are coming to tax you and you don't understand why they're taxing you, it's their job to explain to you. I'm talking about your argument. I'm not talking about taxation. No, it's your argument that I'm referring to, not taxation. The Green Party movement that began and that led to the American Civil War was about taxation and that representation. You're taxing us, you're in Britain, we're in the US, and we don't have people representing us in your parliament. We're not paying you those taxes. That was the thinking. That logic makes sense. I'm simply trying to tell you that government will tax you because they want to raise revenue, so they say. In this country, when you don't do such a thing, there must be public participation for us to understand what you're talking to us about. If there isn't, we have every right not to pay you that tax. Okay? Now, the argument must be logical. It is the money that we've earned that you want to take a bit of. Right, explain to us. The argument about, what that money is supposed to do for me is solid insofar as you're saying there's a role the government plays and you provide opportunity. And I was telling you, the opportunity for the content creator, does it exist? And I'm saying it does exist. Whether directly or indirectly.
Is it the government that provided that opportunity?
Yes, there.
No, it didn't. But
the ecosystem, you know, the argument that I see sometimes taking hold is individuals who don't like this particular government. In fact, there are people that don't like the president. So everything that has to do with this president, with this government, can't be right. It doesn't matter how you look at it. And I'm saying that needs to be given a little rejig. Look at things for what they are. You cannot say that the government exists and an ecosystem within which all these businesses that you buy bundles from blah 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 exist, and they exist because the ecosystem that the government has provided makes it possible for them to exist. And then you conclude by saying the government has done nothing. How exactly do you arrive at that conclusion?
First of all, not all. If this digital taxation had been introduced even by the Uhuru government, it would have been rejected still by content creators, because the principles behind that rejection are the same. If it had been introduced, if it is going to be introduced by Matiang'i when he becomes president, I assure you, people are still going to reject it. So it's not about the personality. It is about, why are you taxing me and yet you've not... Look, if the government says from today henceforth, smartphones, which a majority of content creators are using. Smartphones today, we are giving you a subsidy of X amount of money, so that you can buy whichever smartphone you want, so that you can produce your content. Then perhaps we can have that conversation about you taxing me. If cameras that are costing a fortune right now, one of the cheapest content creation cameras will probably set you back 80,000 shillings, and that is the least in the tier of content creation cameras. Will cost you at the very least 80k. So today Gava is saying, this camera, we have made it such that you can afford it here in Kenya, brand new, at even say 50,000 or even 40,000. Then the government says, going forward, once you start producing this content, we will tax you X amount of money. Sakaja alisema you can produce content here in the streets for free. Yes. If the government would go,
why was it telling you can produce content for free?
So that
why should it not have been free in the first place without him announcing it?
Ndio vijana waende wapate nafasi. You see nowadays, if you come to Nairobi CBD at any time of the week, and more so on the weekends, utapata watu wamejazana hivi kwa streets, and it's not like they're doing anything of it's not like they're selling their wares on the streets. They're actually producing content in the streets of Nairobi,
and they're being taxed to stand on those streets, are they?
Sorry,
are they being taxed to stand on the street?
Initially, before Sakaja, you required a license to produce any kind of content within the Nairobi, actually within Nairobi, not just the CBD, but within Nairobi County. You needed a license, and perhaps I think it's the same in other counties that haven't really given people the free whatever, whereby you need to go to Kanjo, pay for a filming license. I don't remember how much it used to cost, but I remember because we used to produce content before Sakaja end, we had to get those licenses. So if you,
they are called business permits, chief.
Ndio hizo sasa. If you need to go and do that kind of biashara that is content creation, you had to pay for those licenses. So to go back to what I was saying earlier on, it doesn't matter. It's not about President Ruto. Kuna vitu nyingi sana watu reject Ruto for, but this one, it doesn't matter who is president. If you want to tax the young folks, hii hata kama walikuvotia, hii watakwambia naye hawataki.
Well, clearly you are a content creator.
Yes.
And you're fighting for a space that you inhabit, and you have summed up the logic that you feel would represent your case. It is good. And
also don't forget, by the way, some of those platforms that they are producing content on, they're already being taxed. For example, whatever monies people make from YouTube. Yeah, so let's say this month you've made $1,000 from YouTube. I don't know how much they usually tax, but YouTube takes some X amount of money and pays the United States government. All right, because the US is the one that is providing the infrastructure for YouTube to survive and to exist. And
since it is surviving in Kenya, the Kenyan government will also want their bit.
So what if I am a Kenyan living in, say, Canada, producing content? Yes, I'm a Kenyan. Will Kenya still tax me for my content creation?
When that happens, we'll discuss it. I'm looking at the Daily Nation. Shock over 1 billion mini polls budget. That's the headlines. Teachers to join medical scheme run by SHA. Good. They heard. TSC wants suitors under the new health cover by December the 1st. Right. Everybody else should be under this cover.
SHA.
Well, if you want, it's then. If they're not under, then it's not universal, is it? Whether it is civil servants, whether it is the military, whether it is the police service.
The teachers were given promised rather a cover when they visited the president.
But this is the sort of hogwash that must cease. For heaven's sake, how do you refer to something as a universal cover when all different arms of government have their own specific and special covers by how? If it's universal, it means everybody. Yes, that's when it's universal. But if you want this separate insurance cover, then forget this universal talk.
Yeah.
Just say there's this an alternative scheme that you can join which will provide this. That's what you should say. And state that the government is actually competing with private insurance firms to provide insurance. And this is how they're going to go about it. But if it's universal, everybody has to contribute to it. Everybody must be part of it. Otherwise, it is not universal.
I remember someone was saying that everyone should be in that cover, including MPs.
My friend, MPs, cabinets, everybody, including the president and his deputy. Everybody should be on that cover. Governors, everybody should be under SHA if it's supposed to be universal. But if you determine it isn't, then stop calling it universal health care service. Just call it an alternative healthcare service, which you've called SHA. That's it. So people choose whether they want to go to the many private insurance companies or whether they want to go to SHA. Yes.
Yeah.
But if it's for the public, then every citizen of this country must be part of SHA.
I'm waiting to see that happen.
If you then choose to have your own insurance cover, by all means have it.
Because if the government is providing different covers for different individuals at different levels of government or even different levels of government sectors, then it's going to be null and void.
My friend, there's a story here we should have looked at in great detail, but Monday we'll still look at it. The shock over 1 billion mini polls budget. We mentioned this yesterday, but there are details that we need to look at.
Yeah.
And since the elections are not taking place over the weekend, it's a discussion we can have on Monday.
So sour. Let's get down to business with that news coverage, and when we return, of course, in the second hour, we'll let you know what exactly is going down. Right now, though, here's the news.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Soki Brenda. A Malindi court has ordered the continued detention of 4 Kwabinzaro cult suspects for an additional 60 days as authorities intensify investigations into mass deaths and exhumations of victims' remains. Detectives told the court on Thursday that the extra time would allow them to sort through 102 commingled remains already recovered, conduct post-mortem examinations on 34 exhumed bodies, locate additional graves across the 400-acre forest, and locate scattered body parts. Malindi Principal Magistrate Joy Wesonga said the prosecution had provided sufficient grounds for the extension. Githurai Ward Member of County Assembly Dionysius Mwangi Waithira has announced his resignation from the Nairobi County Assembly. Waithira cites repeated frustration with the county government's failure to deliver essential services and implement development projects. In a letter addressed to the Assembly Speaker on September 17, 2025, Waithira said he could no longer serve under conditions he described as neglectful and unresponsive.
Ile kitu ilifanya nichaguliwe na watu wa Githurai kidogo ni kama tunakosa kuitimiza kwa sababu ya frustrations along the way.
And the government has vowed to press ahead with the rollouts of the electronic procurement system. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has insisted the transition to digital is irreversible. Speaking before the National Assembly Implementation Committee, Mbadi defended the 387 million shilling platform procured in 2022, noting it is more cost-effective than IFMIS and aimed at reducing expenses, fighting corruption, and empowering small businesses.
By next week, we don't want to hear any excuses. In fact, some of the challenges we are facing is procuring officers who don't want to do what they should do. There will be pushback, but there must be push forward. And that push forward must just come from the government.
The advantages outweighs the manual system. What we are just saying is your plan of implementation. And I want you to assure this committee, it is not because of Washington pressure that you must implement this so that there's some funding to be released.
Because the funds were released in the month of June, some even in July.
The government has allocated 50 billion shillings to rehabilitate the Nairobi River and address pollution caused by dysfunctional sewers. Water and Sanitation Principal Secretary Julius Korir said the funds will go towards setting up and expanding sewer lines, as well as reinforcing and widening the riverbanks. The projects will focus on informal settlements with the goal of treating over 60,000 cubic meters of water.
These are the towns or the areas that came after as Nairobi expanded, and the expansion has been faster than the rate of expanding the sewerage in Nairobi. So this project was coming to connect those Nairobians to the sewerage, and it is targeting to treat over 60,000 cubic meters of wastewater per day.
At least 10 people have died and 25 others injured after a fire broke out in a high-rise building in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. Videos on social media showed occupants of the seven-story Afriland Towers jumping out of the third and fourth floors when the fire started. The victims are commercial workers who are trapped inside the building, which is host to most commercial companies and organizations in the city. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. I'm Soki Brenda.
On this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast, curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast, your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Radio Generation. The time right now is 7:06 in the a.m. And in studio, we're going to be having a conversation around health. And to help me have this conversation, of course, City Muga is in the house. And we are joined by Dr. Austin Okoth, Chief Medical Officer at RFH Healthcare. That is Ruai Family Hospital. Karibu tena sana daktari to Radio Generation. We are actually honored to have you here with us. And tell me, what do you think about our studios?
First of all, good morning, and thank you so much.
Karibu sana.
For inviting me to today's session. I have to say that this studio is really exquisite. The design is quite eclectic.
Yep.
And,
eclectic.
I am already excited just being here, just by the environment.
All right.
Yeah.
So that means that we're going to have a very good conversation. Let's just start by talking about RFH. RFH is found across several spaces within Nairobi and also outside Nairobi. The fact that it's called Ruai Family Hospital, ilianzia Ruai?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question.
Yes.
First of all, it's to answer you directly.
Yes.
The initial branch of RFH Healthcare was set up in Ruai in 2011 by our founder, Dr. Maxwell Okoth. And we've grown since 2011 to date. We have 11 branches around the Nairobi metropolis, and it's very, very exciting working there. Interestingly, Dr. Maxwell Okoth, he probably doesn't know this, but when I was a fourth former in Maseno School, Dr. Maxwell was in first form. So he was my junior in high school.
Right.
But
we ended up at Maseno.
Yeah, at Maseno School. I went to Maseno School.
Yes.
So we ended up working together at RFH now as my boss, even though he was behind me in high school.
Nice.
So we've had a really good experience, just starting from a small facility in a small apartment in Ruai, and now we've grown to be a big organization in healthcare with 11 facilities and with a lot of work that has been done in especially in the cancer space, where we offer subspecialized services to meet the needs of the population where we work.
When you mean sub, you said sub-specialized services.
Yes.
Could you care to explain what that means?
Yes. So, in line with today's topic, one of the things that we have been noticing, those of us who observe the trends in healthcare, is that lifestyle diseases are more and more. And one of those top 3 lifestyle diseases in terms of morbidity and mortality is cancer.
Yeah.
So different kinds of cancers. And in responding to the voice of the customer, we set up a cancer center in Ruai, and that cancer center offers very, very subspecialized services.
Right.
And there is a lot of technology that is very, very advanced at RFH Healthcare, specifically for cancer cases.
Right.
So they are very, very subspecialized services. Yes.
Do you have oncologists at RFH?
Yes. So we have oncologists, so medical oncologists. So this is an oncologist who uses chemotherapy or medication to treat.
Right.
Then we also have radiation oncologists. So these are oncologists who they prescribe radiation therapy.
Yes.
So we have both internal radiation, and then we also have external radiation machines. And may I just mention that our external radiation machine is an Electra Harmony, which is very, very advanced, and it is meant for precision use, so that when you're giving radiation, you only target the cancer cells, and you do not end up damaging the surrounding healthy tissue. And that's really important for a lot of cancer patients, because oftentimes when someone undergoes radiotherapy, which a lot of people usually would say kuchomwa, what usually happens is there's a lot of damage to tissue,
surrounding tissue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is healthy.
Collateral damage, basically.
Collateral damage. So you end up with a situation whereby I'm treating you, but the treatment is causing you so much. It's making your health worse instead of making your health better. And as doctors, one of the things which we really are taught to do from medical school is to make sure that as you're treating somebody, you need to make sure that the quality of life is better, and you don't treat me and then I end up worse than if you'd have left.
The reason I've actually asked that question is because last week we sat here with another oncologist. Her name is Dr. Zara Mohammed, and one of the things that came out of that conversation is that we have very few oncologists in Kenya. And I think the number that was mentioned is probably around 50, or perhaps they're less than. I remember it was for sure less than 100 of those particular doctors. And when I was in Form 4, I remember our class had around 40 students. So I'm just trying to visualize that the number of oncologists are perhaps the number of students equal to the number of students I had when I was in high school. And for me, that's a very small number. So when I hear there's an oncologist at a place like RFH, I see there's hope as far as treating this particular disease is concerned. So thank you so much for letting us know that. Now, to the question of the day, lifestyle diseases. When we talk about lifestyle diseases, people know about diabetes being one of the major lifestyle diseases. Then now we have cancer. What are other lifestyle diseases that people need to know about?
So it's a good thing that people already know about diabetes and cancer, because those are responsible for a lot of illnesses. The other ones which we need to know about, number one is cardiovascular diseases. So the cardiovascular diseases are a lot. So hypertension. I am noticing that more and more we are seeing people who are younger getting hypertension. In the older days, it was a very I knew all the people who are hypertensive in my neighborhood, but nowadays there's so many people who have that. Heart failure, again under cardiovascular diseases, there are quite a few people who have heart failure. And there is respiratory diseases, so chronic respiratory diseases, including bronchiectasis, including conditions like chronic bronchitis. And so those are the common ones that we see in the settings that we are in terms of lifestyle diseases. Yeah.
All right.
Is it correct to characterize these diseases as lifestyle diseases?
Yes, it is. And the reason why we say that is because oftentimes these are the diseases that arise because of the lifestyle choices that we make. And
so in the absence of that lifestyle, or you're saying in a period where these diseases were not in abundance, the lifestyle was different, so as a result it was not common to have people with these diseases. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, that is correct. That is exactly what I'm saying. And to just drive that conversation forward, there are 5 things which are important in terms of lifestyle. So number one is how active we are physically. and we are more and more sedentary right now than we used to be. And we have a lot of motorbikes, we have a lot of different cab hailing apps, and as a result it's very easy to get transportation from one place to another. And related to that, people are not walking as much as they used to walk. People are not engaging in physical exercise as much as used to be the case some time ago. So number one, just physical activity. Then number two is diet. And on diet, the key things are the amount of salt you take. Then
Salt.
yes, just
Chumvi.
salt intake.
Chumvi.
There's a lot. We're taking a lot more salt right now
Why?
than used to be the case. Why? It's mostly because of fast foods that we eat. A lot of the fast foods that really meant to give you like an instant burst of flavor. Immediately you take it, and that's why oftentimes we find ourselves like really addicted to some of these things, because immediately you take it, you get that instant gratification.
And you're saying that part of that gratification is the abundance of salt in some of these foods.
Yes, it's the amount of salt. It's part of it.
And also processed ingredients.
Then number two, it's those processed ingredients. So you find, for example, that the carbohydrates that we're taking right now, oftentimes they are carbohydrates that are very, very refined.
How is that a problem?
It's a problem because immediately you take it, it increases your sugar levels immediately.
And that's a bad thing.
That's a bad thing.
All
because
right. Salt is a bad thing.
Yes.
Sugar is a bad thing.
Yes.
Why?
Sugar is a bad thing because if you have if you take a lot of sugar in your diet, that leads to a situation whereby you constantly have high sugar levels in your blood. And if you have high sugar levels in your blood, your ability to absorb that sugar is going to be diminished because it's in higher levels at all time. And what usually happens is if that takes place over a sustained period of time, you end up with a situation whereby you constantly have high sugar levels, but you cannot absorb it from the blood. And that is what essentially leads you to getting diabetes mellitus.
Is it the only reason why you get diabetes?
No, that's not the only reason. So there are other reasons why you get diabetes. There are people who get diabetes because genetically they do not have that insulin, and insulin is like the key that you unlock. The cells need to be able to absorb sugar, and to do that, insulin is what transports the sugar from the blood into the cells.
So it helps.
So there are people who do not have insulin genetically, and as a result, they are born with diabetes. So that's diabetes.
So
type
this
1.
insulin helps break down the sugar.
Yeah, insulin is what helps transport the sugar from the blood into the cells where it is used. So if you do not have insulin, then you have the sugar in the blood, but it cannot go into the cell where it is needed.
Let me follow your logic. So you're saying even if somebody is born and you have sufficient insulin, if you overload the system with sugar, then that insulin will find it cannot do what it's supposed to do.
Gradually over time.
And when that happens gradually over time, what then happens? Does it stop doing what it was doing, or does the body stop producing the insulin in adequate quantities, or is it that the equipment in the body that produces insulin just decides it stops working, and so now you have a problem?
So what happens over time is that these sugar levels that are high in the system over a sustained period of time, gradually with time, the receptors are no longer as sensitive to the insulin as they used to be. But it's a process that takes place gradually because your diet has high sugar levels. So it's a bit like you get used to it because it's in high amounts. The sugar levels are in high amounts over time, and as a result, that insulin decreases its functionality slowly, gradually over time.
Does it grind to a halt?
It grinds to a halt eventually, so that you end up with a situation whereby you have high sugar levels, but you cannot absorb. Those sugars cannot go into the cells where they need it.
What does salt then do? Because sugar now I understand, but salt. So if there's a lot of salt, what does it do?
So the salt, what it does is that the salt makes you retain fluids, and by retaining fluids within your system, I want to think of it like an osmotic process.
A who?
Osmotic process.
Osmotic is what?
So let me put it like this.
Osmosis.
Yeah, by osmosis.
So I'm saying osmosis, bana. So kind of osmotic. Now you've lost me completely.
Yes, you were saying. Osmotic.
Yeah, so I was saying that when you have high salt levels because of your diet, what happens is that salt ends up in your blood vessels, right? It is absorbed from your gastrointestinal system into your blood vessels. And that salt will pull in water into the blood vessels by osmosis.
Salt pulls water?
Yes, it pulls water in by osmosis, because there is that high salt concentration pulls in water through osmosis.
So when you retain water, then what happens?
When you retain water, within
Pressure spikes.
Yeah, the pressure goes high.
That's what you say, but why does it spike? Why? What is it that the water, the absorption of water by this salt, what is it that then leads to this spike in your pressure?
I want you to think of it like a pipe, like this pipe here, and then it has, say, 1 liter of water right now. Then after, say, an hour, it has now 1.5 liters.
And
so
it was designed to hold just 1 liter.
Exactly. So the pressure will be higher because it's holding more water than
it should.
Right? Because of that increased water, there is more pressure inside. Because
and that's what salt does.
That is what salt does.
And if you keep doing that, what then happens? Because the way you're speaking, I'm seeing this pipe bursting.
That's so that is what is going to happen. You have high blood pressure that is gradually increasing over time, and if it is not controlled, you develop complications. So the common complications are, number one, you get a stroke. We call that cardiovascular accident. Why? Because that pipe will burst within your brain. Because of that high pressure, that pipe is going to burst, and if it bursts, then there's a bleed within the brain, and if there's a bleed within the brain, the blood vessels burst, that leads to neurological manifestations, and the common one usually is that somebody gets paralysis on one side. That's one. A second common one is you get a heart attack. So what happens is,
these things are not good. Everything that you're talking about here, I'm seeing death in the horizon.
Exactly, but you do not. It doesn't have to be that way. And one of the things which we're going to talk about maybe later is what is the solution to this. And of course, as much as possible, we encourage that you prevent by not doing the things which we are talking about. And the other way is, once you have gotten this condition, is to make sure that you seek medical attention early, so that it's easier to treat, and chances of you getting better are higher.
Daktari, for people who use who inject themselves with insulin,
yes,
you need diabetes type what?
So so for diabetes type 1, you have to inject insulin. There is no other option. But for diabetes type 2, what you would usually do is, depending on the extent, we'd usually start with diet modification. Then we observe over 1 to 3 months if it's going to control. But oftentimes we have to start with oral medication. And that oral medication usually helps. But depending on how cooperative the person is and how compliant they are, sometimes you have to go to insulin. So for diabetes type 2, insulin and drugs, oral drugs work. But for diabetes type 1, there is no other option. It has to be.
So if I'm injecting myself
insulin
with insulin, that means that I no longer produce insulin within my body?
Not necessarily.
Or you don't produce sufficient insulin.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sufficient insulin, or you have insulin, but the receptors are not working. And the receptors, the way they work is, think of it like a key that cannot open a door.
Right. So if I have insufficient insulin, or the insulin I have is not responsive to the receptors, then I am adding more insulin. Then what am I doing exactly? Because see, I thought I already have insulin. Ni venye tu sasa, my receptors are not as sensitive.
Yes.
So by adding more insulin, see, they are still not receptive.
No, they are, because this is external insulin. So what is not as effective is the internal insulin that has been produced by the body.
So what we are saying is that this external insulin is different from the internal one.
Yes.
Okay.
It is different because it is something that is synthesized within a laboratory setting. So it comes in.
It has been modified to be.
It is modified
to be received.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's more effective.
What I don't understand here, and perhaps you'd help us understand it better, is what predisposes somebody to diabetes type 1 and type 2? I mean, diabetes, there's one which from the get-go, you're on insulin. There's the other where there's a bit of insulin, a bit of oral medication, diet. How?
So, so for diabetes type 1, number 1 is genetic. So, a gene mutation or for one reason or another, the organ that makes insulin, which is called the pancreas, somebody is not born with it. Just from the word go.
You can be born without a pancreas?
Yes, it is.
The same way you can be born without legs or hands or fingers.
Yes.
Or even ears.
Yeah.
Because genetically, when the cells were dividing, when you became an embryo, when the cells were dividing, chances are sometimes they can delete certain genes. So they can decide to delete genes that, for melanin, for example. Then that's why we have people with
what is that thing you studied again?
Biotechnology.
Okay. Right. So
good.
So some genes can be deleted actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should have gotten that context so that the conversation can
So
flow
I
better.
did not
So
study
that's a good-
biotechnology. So may I
No, but yeah, itabidi explain.
You have to explain to me.
No, it's fine. So
Yes, I have two things working against me. I didn't study biotechnology, and I'm old. So these are things you must take into consideration when you're speaking.
Yes.
Go on.
Continue.
No, I understand. So like I was saying, so for diabetes type 1, it's we said number 1 is genetically. There could be a gene mutation leading to that, or there are those people who are not born with pancreases, or there are people who, from the time they are born, there's an issue with the receptors from the word go. So as a result of that, these are people who, from day one, they already have an issue with insulin. Now, for diabetes type 2, it's what I was talking about. It's number 1, it's physical activity. That's very important. And of late, we are less and less active physically. For example, I woke up early in the morning and I got an Uber to get here. And I'll probably get another Uber to leave this place. And because I have so many things to do in the course of the day, I don't have the luxury of,
Going for a long walk.
Going for a long walk from one place to another. I have to move fast to be able to accomplish all these things. And as a result, I'm less physically active.
Yes.
Then number 3, what we were talking about is we've talked about the kind of foods that we eat. Then the other important is alcohol consumption. And alcohol consumption is it's a big issue because we are consuming more alcohol right now than we used to, and that alcohol is loaded. It's loaded with sugars, and alcohol consumption is a problem which we need to be able to sort. Otherwise, we will end up more and more in these situations of these lifestyle diseases. So those are the common risk factors that come with diabetes type 2.
Right.
So that's the distinction.
All right.
I have understood.
Sometimes when we buy certain alcohol brands, you'll see them, labeled there, no added sugar. Just how true or untrue is that?
Yeah. So I've looked at those assertions, and to be honest, I don't want to attack someone's brand, but no added sugar is not entirely accurate because there is still high sugar content.
The ingredients
in those alcohol.
Yeah.
And
The
when I
malt,
say
the
I
barley.
didn't add it, the primary ingredient still has sugars in it.
Yeah.
So it's important that you take that advice with a pinch of salt. Otherwise, you end up with a situation where you are trying to restrict your sugars and you end up taking a certain brand which will lead you into the same situation that you're trying to avoid. And I've seen some people, call me and ask me that they have seen this brand and it's noted that there's no additional sugars. Someone is diabetic and they're trying to drink at the same time and
justifying their behavior. Their lifestyle.
Justifying that behavior. And I'd really urge us to make sure that we stick to the advice that we've been given about this kind of situations. If you have diabetes and we are trying to restrict sugar intake, alcohol is not good for you.
Yeah. And in regards to blood pressure, also alcohol, does it have any adverse effects?
Yes, so when it comes to hypertension and cardiovascular diseases, there are those risk factors that we see commonly, and alcohol consumption is one of them. And alcohol has a very, very direct linkage with that. The more alcohol you consume, the more damage we have to our blood vessels, the more damage we have to our hearts. And for people with cardiovascular diseases, alcohol is really a problem. And we've seen that when someone has hypertension, when someone has heart failure, as we take a history, one of the common features that we will see is the fact that there's been history of alcohol consumption. And we always talk about, if you take moderate amount of alcohol, it's okay.
Yeah.
But the problem is that our interpretation of moderate sometimes becomes a problem, so that somebody, for you, moderate is a crate of beer. For me, moderate
a crate cannot be moderate.
No, but there are folks, actually, the way he's explaining it. There are people, they might even take up to 10 beers, and this is beer, not the whiskeys or the vodkas, but beer. Someone can take up to 10 bottles of beer.
And they assume that it's moderate. There's nothing moderate about 10 bottles of beer.
No, if you compare it to someone who's probably taken 2, unaona huyu wa 10 na huyu wa 2, ni kama wako tu sawa.
Yeah, and just to explain that, you see what happens with the alcohol is that if you start today and you take, say, 1 beer, right? You start feeling like you're getting intoxicated, if that is the first time. But after a month consistently of that, now that 1 bottle does not have the same impact. You need to take 2 bottles, and consistently, if you take that
your threshold
amount,
increases.
Your threshold increases. In other words, as I was talking about receptors, what takes place is that the receptors become desensitized the more you take. And I want you to think about it like, for example, like a lot of situations in life, if say something stresses you today, but the same thing takes place, after a month you get used to it, right? So you need maybe something bigger than that to stress you. So by the same concept, your system gets used to it, and you need to take more. So that concept of moderate amounts of alcohol is important, because somebody can take 20 beers and not feel anything, because they're used to it.
Yeah.
So just to emphasize that, as much as possible, not taking any alcohol at all is
the way to go.
That is the most ideal way.
Yeah.
And on a case by case basis, we can be able to tell you that you can take maybe 1 beer or 1 glass of wine with meals, and it's okay. But it has to be on a case by case basis, because for some people it's still no alcohol at all.
There are some diseases, I don't know if I would call them a disease or diseases that are not necessarily mentioned in a lot of cases of lifestyle diseases. For example, kidney stones, gallstones. Are those lifestyle diseases?
Yeah, so by and large, those qualify as lifestyle diseases, because what usually happens is that those are related to diet. And if you have a diet that is high in fats, it predisposes you to those kind of diseases. If you have a diet that is high in salt content, that predisposes you to those kind of diseases. And they don't affect as many people as, say, hypertension or diabetes, but it is as a result of your lifestyle. And that brings us back to what City was asking at the beginning of this conversation. Why do we call them lifestyle diseases? It's because these are diseases that arise as a result of the lifestyle choices that we make.
Daktari, we've been taking these foods for quite a while now. Why haven't our bodies really adapted to these lifestyles? For example, the same way someone takes alcohol over time, they used to take 1 bottle and they are knocked out. Nowadays they are taking 2 mzingas na jamaa ko tu sawa. Why are we not getting used to fast foods?
Are they really sour?
Yeah. Kuna watu.
No. Are they? You see.
Yeah.
The fact that you have a semblance of sobriety doesn't mean you're sour.
And that's the point, that even if I'm getting used to it, short term, but there is damage that is taking place subliminally. So that this is something which you will not notice over a month or 2 months, but after years, you start.
The dividends will come home.
Yes.
So, for example, we have animals that take high fat content. For instance, the bears. They take a lot of fat because of hibernation and whatever. So their metabolism has adopted to that kind of lifestyle. Why haven't humans adapted to that one?
But why are we saying we haven't adapted? I mean, we do.
To high levels of fat.
Anyway, I don't know. Doctor, you answer, because on this fat subject, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Yes.
So, that's a really good question. And this is important because related to what you were talking about, that about the dividends. There's a quote that one of the people that I read about a lot, called Malcolm X, used to talk about, is that the chickens always come home to roost. And what usually happens is that initially you'll be fine. Because you're taking these foods and you're going about your business. And what is happening is that there are certain laws, and it's like gravity or
so you're talking about laws of nature.
Yeah, they're laws of nature. And our body is designed in a certain way. There's one of the subjects we read about, and you probably know about this because of your biotechnology background, is there's physiology. There's a way in which the body is designed to function, and those laws have to be followed. And the moment you decide to go against those laws, what happens is that there are going to be consequences. So it's important for us to understand that for human beings, there's a way that we are designed, and there's a way that we are supposed to function. And as a result, the moment, for example, I'm taking high salt in my diet, then that salt is going to lead me to get to retain fluid, and as a result, I'm going to have high blood pressure. And even if I'm functioning normally, I'm not seeing the impact of that salt on a day-to-day basis. One day, it's going to happen.
Going back to cancer.
Yes.
Wait, you had a question about fat.
Yeah, he had a question.
Let's go on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose my mind. That's right in my mind. Yes.
Going back to cancer. I feel like perhaps cancer is both a lifestyle disease and just something naturally occurring. Because, for instance, there are people who've never smoked in their life, but they end up either getting throat cancer or lung cancer. There are people who are physically fit. If you look at them, they usually do activities all the time. They probably have zero fat content as far as their muscle content is concerned, but someone ends up getting some random disease that perhaps an obese person would be predisposed to. So is cancer really entirely a lifestyle disease?
So that's a really good question. And to answer briefly, no, because normally we talk about risk factors, and we like to categorize them into modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. So non-modifiable risk factors are things that you can do nothing about, and that include things like age. So the older you are, the more likely you are to get cancer. And if today I'm say 41 years old, and then tomorrow I'm 43 years old, my risk is higher, right? And of course that age is not exactly a lifestyle issue. Number one. Number two, there are cancers that are higher in certain genders. Just because I'm male, I'm likely to get a certain cancer. Now, my gender is not exactly a lifestyle choice that I've made. So it's true, it's not entirely, but by and large, the lifestyle choices that we make
increase those risks.
And if you look at in research, normally what is done is if you take two categories of people and then you follow them over, say, a duration, what we have noticed is there's a big difference in terms of people who've made certain lifestyle choices in terms of that disease condition taking place versus people who've not made those lifestyle choices. So it's not entirely lifestyle, but a lot of the cases that we see
Yes.
are directly linked to lifestyle choices that we've made.
Yeah.
And it's also important to note that by making certain lifestyle choices, we can be able to prevent those diseases.
Yeah.
So there are things that we can do something about by just making certain choices.
Okay.
And that is what we like to emphasize.
There is a comment here on our YouTube. A guy called Abokas amesema, ask the good doctor if he is a Christian, because that would explain his attitude to heart disease and alcohol in particular. Umeattack lifestyle yake.
No, I understand
Yeah.
I understand where that is coming from, because sometimes we look like we are judgmental when we are giving this advice, but it comes from a good place, and I'd like to assure you that I'm only looking out for your interest, and it's not that I'm trying to make you look bad, or I'm trying to put myself on a platform. But these are issues which myself I have to make these choices when I'm meeting my friends, and somebody offers to buy me a drink, and sometimes it's something which I consider, but I'm able to make that determination that in as much as you've made this offer to me, but no thank you, let me take that water instead, because I understand that the consequence of taking this down the line is going to be detrimental to my health.
Okay.
So I just want to make that clear, that I'm not looking down on anyone, or putting myself on a pedestal. But the idea is just to see how all of us can be able to live a healthier lifestyle, and for me to also emphasize that these are things which I also go through. I have situations whereby I'm in a situation whereby people are drinking. I'm in a function and it's offered to me.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm living like in a different environment.
Let's look at liver cirrhosis for a second. Liver cirrhosis is usually very much associated with heavy alcohol intake.
What is it, this liver cirrhosis?
So liver cirrhosis, what happens is that you were talking about does our body adjust to some of these things. So if you take alcohol, our livers are able to absorb that alcohol, break it down, and then to dispense the byproduct of what has been broken down. So if you take, say, one beer in a day, which is according to the CDC guidelines, they recommended allowance that you're able to take safely.
One beer?
One beer.
One?
Yes, one beer.
Hey.
So if you take one beer, for example, in a day, your liver can comfortably take that, break it down, and get rid of the byproducts from the body safely. And the liver is not going to be strained. But the more you take, the more the liver is now working more than it is supposed to work. And if it is sustained for a long duration, of course, now depending on how much you're taking, what happens is the liver cells now get overwhelmed. And what will take place is that the liver cells now start to...
So essentially the liver acts as a filter?
Yes, it acts as a filter, but not just filtering, it breaks these things down. Yeah. So it... the alcohol, once you take it, it goes to your stomach, then it goes from the stomach, it goes to the liver. In the liver, they are broken down. It's like a factory for metabolism.
It has the requisite enzymes to make sure that alcohol is broken down.
Yes. So if you take if you stick to the recommended daily allowance, the liver is very comfortable. It can be able to adjust, to answer the question that he had talked about earlier.
So this cirrhosis is what? A disease of the liver?
So it's a disease of the liver. Why? Because you've reached a stage where the liver has been overworked.
So it can't do what it's supposed to do.
What happens is it becomes smaller. Why? Because the cells have died. They've been overworked, and the cell starts to die. So you end up with fewer and fewer and fewer liver cells and a really, really small liver, and that leads to clinical manifestations.
I have to ask this. So then what is a fatty liver? Because I've heard this.
Again, fatty liver is similar to that.
Yes.
It's just that the extent of the damage this is like a spectrum. So that
on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yes.
So fatty is where?
Fatty liver.
Where 1 is what and 10 is what?
So 1 is a healthy liver.
Doing fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. whatever it is you're taking within your diet, the drinks that you're taking are at a level where the liver can be able to break them down comfortably and dispense of the byproducts out of the body.
Okay.
So that's a healthy liver. It's able to do its function.
All right.
Then the more you stress it, now you go to fatty liver. And at fatty liver level, what's happened is that it's overworking, and it's still
working, but it's overworking.
Yes. It has been strained, but it's still not at a level where it's shutting down. Now liver cirrhosis is at 8, 9, 10 thereabouts, where now that liver is now giving up, and you are in a state whereby clinically you start developing things like your eyes become yellow, you have jaundice, you're not able to get rid of waste from your body, and you start getting, if you look at those kind of patients, usually their skin looks like it's really pale.
You
and
begin
it's
looking like a
flaky.
reptile. Yes.
Yeah, to put it differently, it's something like that.
Yeah.
So this is a spectrum.
Something I want to ask, because you're talking lifestyle, the thing that characterizes a lot of lifestyle we speak of is our eating habits.
Yes.
And the discussion about red meat and white meat is something that I hear very often. Should we not eat nyama choma to the degree that we eat it? And if red meat, from what I hear, is not supposed to be that good, I personally don't believe that. Then if I eat a lot of white meat, am I better off? Or is meat just meat? And if this meat has fat, because when it comes to fish, I'm told fish oil's good, fish oil, fat. Comes to animals, I'm told that this fat in this animal may not be good for you. So I'm a bit confused. Which is which? Because the protein content is protein content. And then there are those who argue I must then eat vegetables. And I'm saying we eat vegetables, but somehow they seem to point to beans, lentils, legumes. So where does one stand?
So this is it's a very nuanced discussion, because you really have to take into context the details of what you're talking about, because overall you need protein in your diet.
Yes, you do.
Without protein in your diet, there are implications and
and consequences.
Yeah, there are consequences, and especially in a country like this where there are still people who are having issues with being able to get a living, to sustain themselves, and you see people with malnutrition, protein energy malnutrition, as a result of not being able to get protein in the diet. So let me just start with that. No one should say that you should not have meat in your diet. Now, for religious reasons, there are people who say are vegetarian, and that's okay too. They are different legumes that they take. There are different plant proteins that they take to be able to address their protein energy needs. Now, when it comes to meat, that discussion between red meat and white meat, you have to be very careful with it, because sometimes you go and tell somebody that, and then someone stops taking meat completely, and we see somebody coming in with different diseases as a result of that, because there are people with cancer who maybe have stopped taking meat because they've been told that meat is bad for you. I've seen that. There are people who've been told that. So
where do people come up with such ideas from?
No, you see, we are living in the information age where there's a lot of information that is flying around, and related to that is a lot of research is being done. And for example, I can do research that shows that
sugar is good.
Sugar is good for you, and I can be able to demonstrate that through research. But of course, if you look at what was my sample size, what was the study design, what approaches did I use, what is the data behind
and where
it,
exactly that research was conducted,
exactly,
and among what type of people.
Yes, and what kind of biases were there in the research that I did. If you don't look at all those details and you just go and look at the abstract, which gives you the conclusion, you can be able to prove anything. So there's a lot of information flying around, so you have to be careful with that. So just to answer the question on the meat discussion, of course, white meat has been demonstrated to be healthier than red meat.
Really?
Yeah, there's good research that has shown that. And one of the things which usually we look at is those there are certain places in the world where people really live for long, and those people live like are
like
really
Japan,
certain areas within Asia, and we've studied their diet, and you look at it that a lot of them take white meat, a lot of them have fish in their diet, a lot of them take smaller portions of their food, and there are other things related to that, like people walk, the amount of time that they spend working, and the other lifestyle options that they have made are coming into play. But to put it, to just caution everybody, white meat is better than red meat, but it doesn't mean that you should not take red meat at all, right? Refusing to take red meat completely also that's on the extreme. But there is evidence to demonstrate that white meat has led to better health outcomes.
Have we had research of that nature conducted in Africa among African people?
Yeah, there is a lot of research on that within Africa, and one of the things which you need to know is that, for example, if you take a lot of nyama choma as an example, right? That the fact that it's grilled directly and there is smoke that comes into contact with it, there's a lot of toxins within that smoke that the moment you're ingesting it, that leads to damage to cells over time. So nyama choma, for example, if you're taking it like say lunch and dinner every day, there's a lot of toxins in that.
So you're ingesting toxins?
Yes, you're ingesting toxins. Why that comes about? Because of the way that it has been cooked, whereby that meat is exposed to direct smoke from charcoal. So that's why I say that these discussions are nuanced, because if you take meat that, for example, has been boiled, red meat that has been boiled, it's not the same as if you take red meat that has been
fried or barbecued,
because each of them has specific details about it. And that's why I say when you read research, you have to go into the fine print. If I say that all goat meat is bad, but if you come and look into the study design, you realize that I was taking situations whereby this was goat meat that has been grilled over charcoal, then I'm not giving you the whole information, because if that goat meat had been say boiled or had been fried, then the kind of chemicals that we are dealing with are different.
Okay.
And that's why I say that when you have these discussions, make sure you look into the details. But to put it generally, white meat has been demonstrated to be better than red meat in terms of health outcomes. However, there are nuances to it. As I said, you have to look into the details of what you're talking about.
We have vegetable oil, we have seed oil, we also have animal fat. People are arguing that animal fat is actually better than all these other two. Yeah, I don't know how true or untrue that is. I know you're not a nutritionist or a dietitian, but should we probably start now focusing on animal fats as opposed to what we usually run for when we go to the supermarkets? We're always going for the virgin seed oils, or we prefer taking certain vegetable oils as opposed to others, and we just stick to fat. Animal tallow, for example, beef tallow.
No, I have to say that the jury is still out on that. However, a lot of the studies that personally I've seen is that the olive oil is still healthier than animal fat by quite some distance.
Okay.
And there's a lot of research that has been shown towards that. However, what I've seen about a lot of scientific spaces is that these things evolve. Some of the drugs, for example, that we were using 10 years ago, now we say that, these drugs are not used anymore because the advantages of using them are not adequate to justify their use. So this is still work in progress. And as I said, the jury is still out on this. There is more research that is being done. But as it is right now, That is what I would advise. That,
but as the jury's out on this one,
yes,
given that a lot of biomedical research is actually sponsored by pharmaceutical companies, could you then not say that you have research that begins with a bias? Because the people conducting it, they follow all the requirements of research ethics and everything. But given what it is that they stand for,
they have interests.
They have interests, and one could then argue that everybody has interest, by the way. Just because they have interest, and the interest and the interest is tied into the commercial nature of what they do, then the outcome may of necessity benefit them.
Yeah, so again, to come back to what I was saying, if you want to quote a certain study, make sure you look at the details of it. And one of the things which is standard practice is to declare your interest when you're publishing a research. And
how often does that happen?
It has. If you're quoting research that has been studied in a journal of repute, then it has to be declared.
Yeah,
you have to be. I
thought that was very clear in the problem statement, because what are we trying to solve by doing this research?
Yeah.
Are we not trying to, for example, dispel the fact that we're saying sugar is bad? We need to prove that sugar is actually good. Yeah. So if we're doing research on beef tallow or on seed oils or on vegetable oil, that should be very clear then, unless of course it is not necessarily a scientific study. It is just a survey that a company is just doing is trying to show that indeed our product is superior or better or good.
I think it begins with something else, that is the type of study you want to do, because that may very well determine the results you're going to have in the end.
Exactly.
You see, for instance, you say if it's a survey, okay,
yeah,
and the questions are structured in a particular way, you can structure questions to actually more or less predetermine an outcome.
Exactly.
It depends on how you ask the question.
And that is very true. And that's why as we consume more and more information, you have to have like a doubting mentality about it, and you have to question.
Thank you so much. Just repeat what you just said.
Doubting mentality.
Yeah.
This, yes.
So you have to, like, from the outset, to doubt it and to ask a lot of tough questions, so that you do not believe things easily.
But isn't that why most of this scientific and academic isn't that why a lot of academic or scientific research is usually peer reviewed? So that we can have, if I'm producing research A, let me have Dr. Koth take a look at it, let me have Dr. C.T. Muga take a look at it, and perhaps even other doctors, so that they can either be in agreement or we can get the reactions basically from this particular professionals in the industry.
So to be honest, it depends on what you're talking about. So what I was talking about, for example, is, say, a journal of repute has published a certain research. Before they publish it, they have committees that will go through this research and look at exactly the steps that were followed. Now, if somebody has an interest and they're trying to prove something, then they can be able to do that also, but using other channels. So just to make sure that whatever it is that you're consuming is from a source that is reputable, where there are certain protocols that have been followed, there are certain processes that have been followed, and certain guardrails have been put in place, so that you do not end up with a situation whereby you're carrying water for a certain entity that wants to predetermine an outcome,
right? So
that they can be able to profit from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick, Daktari.
Yes.
Gout, is it reversible?
What is gout?
It's another lifestyle disease.
No. So what is gout?
So gout is an important lifestyle disease, and what usually happens with gout is that there is high uric acid levels, and what happens with uric acid levels is that for a lot of people that consume high levels of protein, especially people who take a lot of meat in their diet, what takes place is that meat goes back to the liver that I was talking about. It's broken down, and one of the byproducts is uric acid. So this uric acid, if it's high within your system, they form crystals, and those crystals usually are deposited in bones, usually in joints. So what takes place is, because of those crystals that have been formed by the uric acid from the meat that has been broken down, you start to get pain usually in the joints, and that pain is because of these crystals that have been deposited within the joints. And that pain usually is very, very severe pain. And a lot of patients who have gout usually say that that is the closest thing usually that a man would experience to labor
pains. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really, really severe pain that, has to be addressed. And
is it reversible?
So it is technically possible to reverse gout, but let me just mention that usually when we say that, we are very careful about it because some people now stop taking medication. So it's important that if somebody has gout, you need to, number one, sort out your protein intake and follow the advice that has been given by the doctor or by the nutritionist, number one. Then number two, you need to make sure that you're taking your medication as prescribed. And then number three, that decision to stop the medication has to be made in consultation with the doctor. But also the lab results have to be done to demonstrate that the uric acid levels have been reduced for a sustained period of time, so that it's good enough to say that now you can.
Sustained is 1 week, 2 months, what?
So that has to be on a case-by-case basis, because for each patient,
Okay, so what is the shortest time that can be described as sustained? A day?
No. A day is too short. From practice, what I've been able to see, usually I would go at least 3 months of
3 months.
compliance,
Yes.
where I've seen diet is fine, the lab results have been sustained in terms of the uric acid levels are low, and I've seen that the client is taking adequate steps to change their lifestyle.
Doctor, I want to cut you there. We're out of time.
Okay.
We need to move on to the news. But thank you so much for coming and explaining some of these things. We invite you again, as usual, because matters of health obviously need more time. And I'm sure there's so much more we can cover as far as that is concerned. That is Dr. Austin Okoth, Chief Medical Officer at RFH Healthcare. Coming up next is the news with Soki Brenda.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Soki Brenda. The government has directed university lecturers to immediately end their ongoing nationwide strike. It says the industrial action is unlawful and disruptive to learning in public universities. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba, in a statement on Thursday, said the Employment and Labor Relations Court had issued an order stopping the strike pending a legally sanctioned conciliation process. He stressed that the lecturers' union must comply with the directive to avoid further disruption of academic programs. MSS Force Commander Godfrey Otunge has said that the Haiti peace mission is a success after the force managed to drive the gangs out of the streets of Port-au-Prince. Otunge says they have been able to capture key areas like the airport, seaport, and most schools. Hospitals are now open. Addressing the media in Port-au-Prince on Thursday, the commander said roads which were closed by the gangs are now open and citizens are conducting their business freely. He, however, said the force is facing some challenges of funding and equipment and appealed for assistance.
In pursuit of its mandate, the MSS mission has so far disrupted criminal networks and repelled numerous gang attacks, liberating key areas of Port-au-Prince and beyond from the grip of gang violence. Further to this, schools have reopened, markets are bustling again, hospitals, some of them have resumed operations, and families are currently returning to their homes. In addition to the successful conduct of community events, MSS has reclaimed critical infrastructure.
And Kenyans seeking police clearance certificates no longer have to travel long distances to Nairobi or regional DCI offices. Authorities have rolled out the service at select Huduma centers across the country, making it faster and easier to obtain the essential documents. The agency noted that the process cannot be completed entirely online, as fingerprint must be done in person due to legal and technical requirements. Police in Narok have arrested 2 suspects who pretended to be students at Masai Mara University in order to steal from the students. Narok Central Sub-County Commander John Momanyi said one suspect had been rescued by the police after angry students almost lynched him at Igos Junction, a few meters from the Masai Mara University. The suspect later led the police to his house, where his accomplice was found with several mobile phones believed to have been stolen from the university.
Yesterday we received information of a mob injustice incidents that was taking place within Narok Township, that is an area near Masai Mara University. Our officers, of course, responded to the scene, and on arrival, they found one young man who was being subjected to mob injustice. Of course, the officers rescued the suspect and rushed him to Narok County Referral Hospital for treatment. Later on, it was established that the young man or the suspect was committing crimes of conning, especially targeting university students, the first years who have just joined the university.
Also, a tragedy has struck Nambilima village in Lugari constituency after a young woman was brutally murdered in a suspected love triangle. Detectives in Kakamega County have already launched an investigation following the brutal murder of the 4th-year Alupe University student. The young woman's father said he wants justice served over the killing.
Nimekuwa nimeenda kasi, machana kwa kuja kuniita kwa kasi. Hii maafa isimamie tu hapo. Na mtoto wangu nimeng'ang'ana na yeye. Paka mashemeji zangu kutoka Butobo wamenisaidia. Upande majirani wamenisaidia. Wamenisaidia mtoto anaendelea masomo yake. University Alupe. Mwaka kesho hii mwezi wa 4 mtoto alikuwa anatoka.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. I'm Soki Brenda.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast, curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast, your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
Welcome back. This is Radio Generation. The time right now is 6 minutes past 8 o'clock. And indeed, we are in the 3rd hour, a conversation that we have been waiting to have this entire week. We want to discuss the future prospects for Japan-Kenya Development Cooperation. And with us in studio is the Japanese ambassador to Kenya, His Excellency Matsura Hiroshi. A very good morning to you, sir, and welcome to Radio Generation.
Thank you very much. Very good morning.
Good morning to you too. City.
Yes.
You know, this is the second Japanese national I've ever met in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I drive a Japanese car.
Mm-hmm.
I have watched a lot of Japanese content, but never met a Japanese person. Actually, the last time I met one was in the year 2005, where I visited someone along State House Crescent. But it's such an honor and a pleasure that the second person I'm actually meeting is the diplomat from the great nation of Japan. So welcome once again to Radio Generation.
Oh, it's my pleasure too.
Yes.
Your Excellency, we must ask this man.
Yes.
Where he has been living.
I know, right?
Or have you been living on another planet and you just visited Earth recently? So.
Perhaps. And I've actually been very interested in Japanese culture. I find it to be very intriguing, but most importantly, very interesting because they're one of the very few nationals who are the same as we see them in their country and even outside Japan. Very respectful individuals and a rich culture, not just in terms of the people and how they interact, but also in terms of food. I enjoy a lot of Japanese food actually whenever I'm visiting restaurants in Nairobi. One of my favorite is teriyaki chicken.
Nice, huh? Yummy.
I love it. Yeah. So Let's start by just talking about the cooperation between Kenya and Japan. Perhaps just looking at a brief history. Actually, CT Muga here has told me a lot about Japan and some of the things that Japan has done in cooperation with Kenya.
Right.
In terms of even our universities, Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. I understand that Japan had a very huge hand in that. Perhaps you can just give us an overview of the cooperation and the friendship between Kenya and Japan.
Sure. Well, the history of the cooperation between Kenya and Japan is very long. It started at the year of your independence, 1963. And then the following year, 1964, the first dispatch of the Japanese experts for technical cooperation is made. That was actually the year of my birth. So the age of cooperation is almost exactly the same as my age.
Yes.
And step by step, we expanded the menu of the assistance. So 1966, we started the sovereign loan to Kenya, and 1974 grant assistance to Kenya we started. So nowadays we have been doing various areas such as infrastructure, energy, agriculture, health, and in this way we support the building of the basis of the Kenya's national development from long-term perspective.
Nice. And in terms of projects, Japan is very passionate also as far as promoting development within Kenya. Maybe we can also talk about the genesis of that. How did that come about? Was it us coming to Japan, or was Japan coming to Kenya to initiate some of these projects?
Well, I think the project request is always coming from the Kenyan side, but of course there is a willingness of us, Japan, to engage in the Kenya's development. The symbol of that is the what we call the Japanese Overseas Cooperation Volunteers. It's a Japanese Peace Corps. So tens of Japanese young people are volunteering to go into the Kenyan village to help the village making and village development every year. So cumulatively, we have sent 1,850 Japanese people to the villages, the towns of Kenya, and this is the second largest in the world. And we believe that this represents the essence of sympathy of Japan to Kenya, because by having the people-to-people contact in the village, that will inspire Kenyan people to aspire for development. This sort of soul touching is the basis of and the essence of the development assistance, so that we are very much proud about this number, 1,850 Japanese.
Right.
Yes.
Nice. And in terms of education, a lot of Kenyans leave this country, go to the places like the UK, the US, and China to further their studies. Some of them because of the scholarships that they've been given. Do we have any collaborations as far as our education is concerned with Japan?
Sure. In this area too, Japan has been always putting emphasis the human capacity building. And many Kenyans went to Japan for study and then come back to Kenya and be engaged in various projects for national development. Many leaders are the products of education in Japan. There are scholarships sponsored by the Japanese government, which have already accepted 350 Kenyans. And that means the graduate level, undergraduate level, and PhD level, and various levels.
Right.
And in addition to that, there are various short-term programs for Kenyan people to visit to receive the training. That also produce many Kenyans who have experience in Japan, who have knowledge of Japan, and use that knowledge for the development of Kenya.
Yeah, and especially when we look at some of the courses that, actually some of the areas of expertise that Japan has in terms of like mechanical engineering, in advancing your industries. Do you think that back here in Kenya, we have the capacity to be as industrialized in terms of our technologies as Japan is, because we believe that our manufacturing industries are quite behind, and when it comes to when we look at the global levels. So do you think we can actually have collaborations that can actually help us get to the levels of some of these Asian countries we look at, who are really good as far as manufacturing is concerned?
Well, in terms of technology, the Kenya has a very strong basis of human resources. The education level is very high, and the young people are very eager to learn. So I think that is definitely a plus. And it's based. It ultimately it depends on the strategy of individuals. They want to be. Do they want to be pioneering in the area of manufacturing?
Right.
If they do, of course Kenya can do. But many people in this country in these days are much more being inspired by other sectors of industry, such as finance, creative industries, digital and communications. So I think we need more Kenyan people, able Kenyan people who are aspiring for pioneering in manufacturing. If they do, you can make it.
Yeah. Do you remember we were having that conversation? I think it was last week.
Yes.
And we were saying that I feel like our manufacturing is not really been given the attention it deserves, because we are focused on other areas that we have strengths, agriculture, for example, tourism. But when it comes to innovation in manufacturing, that area is a bit wanting.
It requires a seismic shift, really, in the thinking of our government.
Right.
And perhaps this is where His Excellency the Ambassador can help us, because there's a certain way in which the Japanese people relate to each other, relate to their government, understand their duties as the citizens of that country, and what it is that is considered honorable in the way they go about their life. Now, if we start with that as Kenyans, how it is we relate to our own country, we relate to each other, how we think our service to our country, what it means and how we should apply it, then these are the things that we talk about in terms of development, in terms of business, in terms of industry. It'll be a byproduct of that particular thinking. For instance, Kenya is the largest on this continent recipient of overseas development aid from Japan. We are.
Oh, really?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we are.
All right.
Yes. Now, this is what I wanted to ask the ambassador. How did Kenya get to be in this position where they receive a great deal of overseas aid from Japan?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
Yes.
You can approach this question in various aspects.
Please, yes.
But one is the Kenya's capacity as a development agent. You have rich possibilities in terms of human resources and also the stable government systems, and also the tolerance and generosity to the foreign assistance. So that is a strong basis for it. But another thing too is that we Japanese have many commonalities between Japanese and Kenyans.
I want to hear about this. Tell us about the commonalities.
Yeah, well, for example, both of us are optimists. Secondly, both of us are having open mind to new things. But on the other hand, we are sticking to our tradition.
Yes.
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 We work hard.
Yes.
And also, ultimately, we believe in ourselves, both Japanese and Kenyans. You may remember that back in February at the National Day reception of Japan, you were also here.
I was definitely there. Yes.
Yes, I read aloud some Kiswahili sentences of this.
Yes.
Let me repeat that.
Please go ahead. Yes.
So, watu wa Japani na Kenya wote ni yenye mtamaini, wana akili wazi kwa mambo mapya, wanaheshimu mila zetu, wanafanya kazi kwa bidii na wanajiamini.
And that
do
is
you agree?
very true.
Excellently put. That is true.
Right.
Yes. That is very true. Kenyans are a very, very gung-ho and very, let's see how we can do this, and nothing,
we're full of hope.
And nothing is impossible. We just say, where's the opportunity? And they go for it. That is absolutely true.
So that's why
yes,
many promising requests, proposal, and plans have keep coming to Japan from Kenya.
Yes.
And we are ready to respond to that. That's the history of our cooperation.
There's a history. You have a development agency.
Yes.
JICA. JICA has been very instrumental in very many things. But what I want to ask about is the support it has given the biomedical research in this country. Because I know of the relationship that JICA had with Kenya Medical Research Institute. I know because I worked there.
Oh, you did?
I worked for the Kenya Medical Research Institute, yes. Now, along with that partnership, I know there are very many individuals who work at KEMRI who got their PhDs and masters from Japanese universities. And there were collaborations with universities with one of the 14 centers that KEMRI has. Then there's the outcome of the research. Because once you have highly trained people, then you have people who can then now contribute in a greater way.
Yeah.
But there has also been a push that I have observed to encourage people to go and study in Japan. Okay? How does that help the Japanese government? Because I know how it helps the Kenyan government, but how does it help the Japanese government? Yes.
Okay. So KEMRI is a very good example of Japan's assistance, cooperation to Kenya's intellectual capacity building. And Jomo Kenyatta University for Agriculture and Technology is another. And also KEFRI, Kenyan Institute for Forestry Research.
Yes.
So these are the three pillars of Japan's intellectual capacity building. And then, as you said, that many scholars and researchers studied master and PhD in Japan and go back to those institutions and lead the development and management of institutions and produce a lot of smart graduates. So that's the benefit for Kenya. For Japan, by doing the collaboration with those Kenyan institutes, we learn from the African, for example, in the case of Kenya, African infectious diseases. In the case of KEFRI, the African plant and forestry, and which will enrich our knowledge and our capacity to address the global issues. And another thing too is that by having the intellectual communication with the Kenyan researchers, our researchers will have a much more open mind and open the possibility to collaborate with other researchers from other parts of the world. The open-mindedness of the Kenyans and also the capability and the skills of communication interculturally is very good. Is very good stimulus for the researchers of Japan.
Your Excellency, there is the TICAD Conference that happens yearly, and it has been there for quite a while now. What are some of the achievements that we can actually look at historically and said that this is what TICAD has achieved for the African continent, and perhaps if you can touch also on how it has helped Kenya, that would be awesome.
Okay, well, I would like to say three things. One is that Kenya, TICAD started back in 1993. That was exactly at the end of the Cold War. And America and the Soviet Union started to disengage strategically from African continent. But by having the TICAD and by the continuation it over 32 years, the attention of the world to Africa has come back. So this is the function of the TICAD as a lever to get back the attention of the world. That is number one. Number two, if you look back the policy agenda of the TICAD historically over the 32 years, many policy issues which are still relevant today, such as climate and environment and ownership of Africa in development and shift from the development to trade and investment, accelerated growth. Those are the topics the TICAD has been keep discussing, and now it is sitting in the mainstream of the development agenda in Africa.
Right.
So that was the second role TICAD has played. The third one is that we TICAD have been sticking to the idea of Africa continent as a whole. Africa.
Right.
Yes. So that's why TICAD process has been helping the unity of Africa and working together and walking together to Tembe. Pamoja.
Nice. I like that. We have a question here from one of our viewers, and this is what sorry. This is what he says. On behalf of our people, do you know if there are any plans, our people here, meaning Kenya, on behalf of our people, do you know if there are any plans to establish industrial academies here sponsored by the Japanese government? And if not, what is hindering them from doing so? Lastly, ask on my behalf if the Japanese government has established any youth organization, and if yes, is it possible for him to let us know about them? So let's start with the establishment of industrial academies in Kenya. Yeah.
Well, as I touched upon, the JQuad,
Yes.
Jomo Kenyatta University for Agriculture and Technology, actually makes a lot of researches on industry, industrial engineering,
Right.
and then they produce graduates in that area. So we keep doing it, and it's not a separate university for industry, but many of the jobs they are doing is related to the industry and the industrial development of Kenya.
Right. And then the second part of his question was, ask on my behalf if the Japanese government has established any youth organization, and if yes, is it possible for him to let us know about them? I don't know what he means by youth organization, perhaps, but is there anything of the sort?
Well, as I touched on briefly, this Japanese overseas volunteers group, this is a substantial body which Japanese youth interact with Kenyan youth, but it's not a youth organization per se. So in that sense, we don't have that history of establishing the youth organizations. But we are keenly aware the importance of the youth issue in Kenya and the whole Africa. So actually, this is one of the main cross-cutting agenda for the TICAD 9, which took place in August.
Right. And in terms of investment opportunities, where we have probably even investors coming from Japan to invest in ideas that have been created or curated by Kenyans, do we have any of that kind of collaboration?
Well, the investment from Japan to Kenya is phenomenal. Right now, the number of the companies who have outposts in Kenya is 124. 124.
All right.
Back in 2011, it was just 28. So in the past 15 years, the number has quadrupled, and it has been in secular trend to increase. So that is the best indicator of how enthusiastically Japanese business is interested in investing in Kenya.
All right. So, because CT, remember when we had a conversation here with the Estonian ambassador, one of the things that they pointed out was the opportunities that are available in their countries for investors to go and invest in those countries. And we are seeing a lot of that, but unfortunately, even here in Kenya, when people invest, unfortunately, some of those intellectual property rights are taken back to the countries of investment, and Africa sometimes is left
actually if you
high and dry.
The point you make is a valid one, but
Yes.
if you look at what you're referring to as Japanese overseas development aid, there's a uniqueness to it.
Yeah.
Because if you look at what other countries who we have similar relationships with, you will find, let me just ask a simple question. How many, for instance, I do not mean to disregard the aid that we've seen from other countries, but how many, for instance, European countries do you know of who have built a university in this country? Built. Because this is, JKID is built from the ground up, built.
Yeah.
Not assistance and we give you one lab, built it in its
Everything.
It's an entirety.
Yeah.
See, that difference is what I'd like the ambassador to talk to us about. How does Japan understand overseas aid and assistance and the sort of partnerships that you have with Kenya, and how does it differ from other countries who also say they offer the same thing?
Well, I cannot speak for other countries.
Yes.
What I can do is only speak about us.
Yes.
But always in what is at the center of our mind is that all the cooperation is for ultimately for the resilience of Kenya, ultimately for the
benefit,
self-independence of Kenya. So that what does it mean? One is that individual Kenyans need to have the capacity to open their destiny, navigate their own lives with their own power. So the empowerment of the individuals, protection of individual is very important, so that every Kenyans can be an agent of their own life and agent of the value creation. So that is the ultimate purpose of Japanese assistance when it comes to the individuals. But at the level of the society, what does the resilience means? Which means the quality growth with high quality, which means growth which protects environment and climate, and growth which can go along with the humanitarian assistance, and growth which can go along with the new development technologies such as digital and new energy, and also the food security, so that those social resilience and the economic resilience is what we wanted to achieve together with the Kenyans. And another thing is that the assistance is not only purely bilateral things between the Japanese government and the Kenyan government. It has to involve broader stakeholders, so that partnership can be broad. We work together for resilience, so the other partners such as private businesses and public financial institutions, other donors, international organizations, civil societies, they are all partners for the one purpose, the strong, resilient Kenya.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. I want to ask the issue on we import a lot of cars from Japan, beautiful, amazing vehicles from Japan. But for some strange reason, when they get here, the taxes on the Kenyan side are too high. Is there a way we can have a different conversation on how to reduce some of these taxes? Because the price we used to import with like 5 years ago right now has literally almost doubled. A vehicle that would cost 700,000, for instance, in the Kenyan market is probably now costing anything from 1.2 million going upwards. Is there a way we can have a conversation and see how cars can become cheaper? I want to buy a new car.
By the way, your Excellency, he's a smart man. He has preempted. I was going to tell you, this man drives a Japanese car and he's taking advantage of your being here to find out how he can buy a newer car at a cheaper price. Exactly. If I were you, I would ignore that question.
But anyway, that's probably a conversation we shall have with our government on cultural exchanges.
Oh, no, I'd like to touch on car issues too.
Oh, really?
You are very lucky. Yes, please go on, Your Excellency. Yes.
So, of course, tax matters is exclusively decided by the government of Kenya.
Yes.
And what I'm going to say is in no sense intervention to the exclusive power of the Kenyan government. But what I think personally is that the present tax system of our cars is too heavily on the time of the acquisition, on the time of purchase.
Right.
If the tax is a little bit even out for the long duration of the ownership,
right,
like 5 years, like 7 years,
yes,
then the total amount of tax may be the same, but the tax burden at the point of purchase will be a little bit lower. So will the government take this idea or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
But another aspect of it is that Japanese car assembly companies, Isuzu and Toyota are here in Kenya.
Yes.
They want to sell the car cheaper if possible, but they have to compete with imported second-hand cars.
Right.
And of course, second-hand cars is cheaper, so that the Kenyan consumers tend to buy them. So that makes the production cost of the new cars here in Kenya higher.
Yeah.
So the government needs to think about this aspect as well.
Your Excellency, one of the things that the Republic, the country of Japan, has done for Kenya, specifically this county we live in, is provide a master plan. Okay? Now, through JICA again, did Japan ever envision, when they had their master plan, that you would find Japanese cars everywhere on this planet, and that in very many parts of the world, there would be more Japanese cars than the cars that those countries produce? Had they envisioned this?
Well, I need to ask them.
Yes.
Who made the master plan? But the success of Japanese car is a big success story for the entire Japanese industry.
Yes.
But of course, the structure of industry keeps changing.
Yes.
Now the new technologies such as automatic driven cars and electric vehicles
yes.
are, acceleratingly becoming dominant. Will the Japanese cars are able to catch up with this? Of course, they are trying hard to do this, but the success is not guaranteed. So it's the life is strife.
I want to take you back to a discussion we're having about TICAD. When TICAD was set up, it was for a specific purpose. And you said it was set up immediately after the end of the Cold War.
Indeed.
Right. Now, what would you say are some of the successes and the failures that one has seen with TICAD? And what are some of the things that one then hopes to change to ensure that the intentions and the goals are achieved to a much greater degree than has been achieved so far?
Well, it's a good question. And we, Japanese who are related with TICAD process, keep discussing this issue. And that is related to the achievement Africa has made so far. It was a remarkable achievement over the 30 years. Then there are increasing willingness on the part of Africa to propose and discuss agenda which is specifically focusing on sub-regions of Africa's. And the present approach of TICAD to treat African continent on the whole as a single continent cannot address that sub-regional leadership, sub-regional initiatives, sub-regional ideas sufficiently. How the future of TICAD can address this dynamism, the importance of Africa as a total unity, and the emerging initiatives coming out from various sub-regions. That is a very critical key question.
Okay. Your Excellency, I'd like to introduce your counterpart in Japan. That is His Excellency Moe Lemoshira. But I think, has he left the meeting so soon? All right, let's try and reconnect with him so that we can probably have another angle to this conversation. But as we were talking about this whole issue of vehicles, I'm also curious to find out about our cultural interactions and our cultural exchanges. We have seen, like I told you earlier on, I love Japanese food, absolutely delicious. A lot of Kenyans and Japanese nationals are also intermarrying, which is a good thing. What other areas of our cultures are we also exchanging?
Well, I would say the Kenya-Japan relationship is very mature by now, after having 61, 62 years.
Yes.
And it started from the exchange in the economy and diplomacy, but now it has expanded to the area of culture. One very good example of this is Japanese musician who plays nyatiti, which is a traditional Luo music instrument.
Yes.
And she gave this performance in live event this week by the name of she was given a Luo name Anyango.
What does Anyango mean?
You were born in daylight.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So she gave
somewhere around near midday. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she gave a fine performance in Alliance France this week. So this is a typical example how vast, how rich our cultural exchange has become by today. And another thing too is that we had Expo 2025 Osaka Kansai right now, and 158 countries all over the world take part in this expo. And the Kenyan pavilion attracts on average 13,000 people per day.
13,000.
13,000.
Wow.
So it's about 10% of the whole visitors of expo one day. So it is 6 months projects.
Yes.
So 13,000 multiplied by 60. Vast number
is
now exposed to the Kenyan culture. So this is also another good example of the
13,000. Wow.
So it's about 10% of the whole visitors of expo or one day. So it is 6 months projects. So 13,000 multiplied Kenyan culture. So this is also another good example of the
13,000. Wow. So it's about 10% of the whole visitors of expo.
Your Excellency Moi Lemoshida, can you hear me? All right, there seems to be a connection issue there, but we'll sort it out. One thing you've mentioned as far as our music is concerned, theatre has been a very big part of the Kenyan culture and entertainment scene. Are there
areas of collaboration as far as that culture is concerned in terms of even producing not just music, but even producing films?
Well, first
I'd like to mention that in the week
starting from
the 8th of October, Wednesday, until 12th of October, Saturday, the embassy will give a Japanese film festival to the Kenyan public. We will have 8 films altogether, drama, comedy, animation, and it's open to the public. Yes, please come to it. You will see the present status of the Japanese film industry culture by own your eyes. Another thing I'd like to mention is about 10 years ago, there is a documentary film shot in Kenya, which keeps the record of the activities of Japanese medical researchers through collaborating with Kenya to develop the Kenyan medicines. And that was very moving one. And it also tells the level of collaboration between Kenya and Japan in the film industry.
Do you know this genre of animation called anime?
Yes.
Is there a specific anime you can that you know, or you've watched or you like?
No, I am familiar with some of it because that genre of literature is something that I'm actually very fond of myself.
Yes.
And I am aware of the Japanese contribution to that particular genre of literature. Yes, I am aware.
Yeah.
But if you ask me about a specific one, you will draw a blank.
Can I recommend? Actually, let me recommend two.
Yes.
There's one called Bleach. Yeah, the main character is called Ichigo. It's an awesome anime. The other one you can go and watch is called Naruto. And then there's another one called One Piece. And also 3 I've given you.
So there's
One Piece, Bleach, Naruto.
Go watch them.
Go watch them. Absolutely awesome. Let me see if we can get our ambassador over in Japan. Your Excellency Moi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you indeed, and thank you for the surprise.
Unfortunately, I cannot hear him.
I can hear you very well.
One more time. Mheshimiwa, unanisikia vizuri?
Kabisa na kusikia vizuri sana.
We need to get his audio over here to the studio. I don't know what's happening.
Tell him to send us what's happening.
Yeah? All right. So perhaps what I will ask you, Mheshimiwa, to do is probably send us a video clip about a minute or two, and they will be able to play it because we're having issues here. One more time. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear you as well.
Someone had muted our audio, but karibu tena sana, Your Excellency. We are in studio with the Japanese ambassador to Kenya. You are the Kenyan ambassador to Japan, is that so?
Very honored to be. Yes, indeed.
Right.
One thing I was asking him is the collaboration that Kenya has with Japan. We've spoken about economic partnerships, cultural, and we were actually just talking about music, film, and theater. And we're getting a lot of content from Japan. I don't know, maybe that now that you're there, are we getting any content from Kenya to Japan as far as that cultural exchange is concerned?
Thank you very much indeed, and it's a great honor for me to join you and my good friend Hiroshi. And I congratulate him for taking this initiative to come and speak about these two great countries. A good friend, but culture, creative economy is about people. People get to share when they have outreach and they have common understanding. The first thing we must understand about Japan's contribution to the world is the impact of its technology. Of course, you know the story of motor vehicle. I've been following you. You ask about the question of how many cars we import, and I hear you drive a very nice, comfortable.
Oh yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
In order to take advantage of to increase people. Need to.
It seems that we. Okay.
The foundation.
Your Excellency.
Of our two countries.
Yeah, the connection is a bit laggy. Yeah, but I like what you're saying in terms of the fact that we probably will get to a point whereby we're going to increase these particular interactions. But on that issue of music and theater, I'm curious to find out specifically, do we have any content as far as that is concerned in Japan, and is there a way we can actually quantify and say that in terms of music this is what we're doing, in terms of film this is what we're doing?
No, we haven't achieved much in that area. And I think one of the first things we need to address is how do we translate the Kenyan film into a consumable product for the Japanese. That means getting Kenyan movie films into Japanese format, because this is Japanese is more or less a mono country in the sense that it is Japanese speaking. So we need to encourage our film industry to consider looking at the Japan, putting Japanese into our productions. If we can do that, then the shared trends between the young people can help us to promote the exchange of films.
Yeah, and how do you think we can achieve that? By having local Japanese actors within our theaters, local Japanese musicians into our music, or is there another different way we can actually achieve that? Do we start singing perhaps in Japanese?
We had a couple. Could be a bit small, but a month or so ago we had a visit by Tenri School. They came here to Japan, and they performed Kenyan music and performed Japanese music. I think through the Japan Cultural Center in Nairobi, we can look at a way how we can blend our production so that we can also favor the Japanese movie fraternity or film fraternity in our productions. And yes, under our cultural diplomacy, which we collaborate very closely with Russia and his team there, we should contemplate going on that way.
Lastly, we get a lot from Japan, like we mentioned earlier on. We get the cars, and they have nice, amazing restaurants here. I'm sure we have maybe 1 or 2 restaurants in Japan. But what else would you say that we export to Japan that is of significance?
Our economy is agriculture based, so you expect that Kenyan tea and coffee are quite big here in Japan. We have now got into the areas of exports of nuts also. We have some minor minerals like titanium, yes. But I think the future of our collaboration should have an intensity of labor connectivity. Getting Kenyans to advance in our training programs, so that we can easily be more accommodated in the Japanese labor market. Hiroshima, I have told you that Japan has quite a huge deficiency of about maybe 975,000 workers every year. And I think we have our training education is very much in tandem with the Japanese requirements. But we need to intensify the learning of Japanese, the studying of Japanese business and culture for postgraduate level, both at the TVET and the university, so that we can have the labor connectivity work in the years to come. To me, I think the greatest potential we have looking into the future is opportunities for Kenyans.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And actually, on that particular note, I'll ask the good ambassador here to perhaps explain to us what, on that level you've mentioned, in terms of understanding the culture. Let's get into that education aspect as well, so that we can perhaps infiltrate more, for lack of a better word, into that particular market that is the Japanese market. So thank you so much, Your Excellency Moile Moshira. Allow me to let you go for now. We shall definitely engage with you at a different time so we can get more into details about what we can offer Japan and how we can benefit even more.
So, thank you very much, and say hello to CT.
All right, CT amesalimika sana mheshimiwa. Your Excellency, you've just heard what the Kenyan ambassador to Japan has said in terms of getting our, first of all, getting to offer the Japanese market and the Japanese audience what they need and what they want, so that we can have much more to export in that aspect. How can we achieve that?
Well, Kenya has a big attraction for Japanese, and of course it includes wild animals, but also it has many culture, dancing and play and music. Also, you have the beautiful coast, and you also have the Mount Kenya, very good shape, but also gives fun of climbing.
Yes.
But those resources are not fully utilized. Wild animals in safaris are very well known in Japanese, but you need to combine other attractions,
right,
in a good package, so that Japan, wider public of Japan will be attracted to come to Kenya and experience Kenya and go back to Japan and spread the information about how big fun to be exposed to the Kenyan culture.
Right.
So you have a lot of things to do. First, to assemble those attractiveness together, put it together in a package, and sell it to the major Japanese travel agencies, who are the sort of initiative leader in Japanese overseas tourism. So that will be the first starting point I recommend to you.
Right. And here I thought we have really sold our land.
No, we actually haven't. You see, the thing about the attraction of a country, it is the country's responsibility to, one, understand what this partner they have would consider important, and how to package what you think you have so that it can attract those people. See, the animals that His Excellency speaks of, they do not have in Japan.
Right.
So somebody would definitely want to come and see it. But Tanzania has similar animals. So that's competition. Uganda has some. So how do we have that competitive edge? When you already have a relationship, that's a competitive edge.
Yeah.
Yes. So now it's a question of enhancing that particular edge. Now, talking of visitors,
yes,
talking of the uniqueness, we have something they call a blue economy. Japan is a series of islands. So when it comes to the blue economy, you could argue they're surrounded by the blue economy. What are some of the specific areas of assistance that Japan has provided to Kenya with the blue economy, and what is it that the Kenyan government has informed the government of Japan as some of the needs they have, so that the assistance can actually meet the needs for our blue economy?
I think among the various aspects of the blue economy, two aspects are most important. I think for Kenya and also for Japan.
Yes.
One is the sound development of fishery industry.
Yes.
And the protein from the fish products is a good source of nutrition, and so that it should be usefully utilized, but also it has to be used in sustainable ways, so that efficient way of fishing is one thing, but another thing is to regulate the illegal fishing. So Japan can do a lot of things together with Kenya to promote this. That is one. The second is the maritime security and the freedom of navigation, so that Kenyan Coast Guards and Kenyan navies has a good capacity to ensure the freedom of navigation and maritime security in the littoral water of Kenya. What Japan can do is to, at least we have done the capacity enlargement of the Kenyan Coast Guard in the past, and we will pursue to keep doing so.
Right. The ambassador also of Kenya to Japan has mentioned something to do with our education, and perhaps we need to learn a few things about the way Japanese people do business. Just a brief overview. How do the Japanese do business? What is that specific aspect that we need to learn so that we can tap into that market?
Oh, it's a big question, and it's a question to be addressed to the businessman, not to a diplomat like me.
Because I'm sure there's something, perhaps, I don't know, City, do you think there's something about the Japanese culture of business?
It's called ethos. Ethos. For a Japanese citizen, working hard and working long hours is just basic patriotism. Here, we seem to try and work as few hours as we possibly can and still hope to earn the same salary.
Right.
A Japanese does not look at that extra work. Let's say work is supposed to end at 4. If a Japanese works until 8 at night, they do not consider it a problem.
It's normal.
It is not a problem.
Right.
It just shows the commitment you have to your nation. That's the ethos and nation building. That is how they look at life. They have a great respect for themselves, and when you apply that ethos to your way of life, then it is an honor to you, are an honorable person as a result of that. Now, how do we compare?
As we work at exactly 5, when you're supposed to leave, you leave at 3.
Precisely. So you see, again, we don't see the connection between that and the ethos we have, not just towards work, but how our relationship with our country is. Because you asked the question, it's patriotism. Is that how we apply our patriotism? Is that how we manifest it?
Right.
Because that isn't the very thing that is supposed to build the nation, is what we erode. You see? So when one goes and studies in Japan, it'll be your first culture shock.
Oh yeah, I'm certain.
Just because of how people approach the studies, how they approach their work, and how they go about it. I'll tell you a story. I have a cousin who did his PhD in engineering in Japan, and he said one of the things that, and you see, if you study engineering, there's some practicum you'll go to. So the places he went to apply the new knowledge, said people would leave work, let's say it was supposed to be at 5, they'd leave probably 2 hours later. And the competition was for who would leave later than the others, not like here where who leaves first. And he said he found it very strange, but he would be told, it is okay, you are a visitor, so you can leave early. Of course, he would not leave early.
He doesn't want to be the odd one out.
No, he wasn't going to be. So when you ask, how is it that Japan has grown to where it is, you'll find the same thinking is in Korea as well.
Yes.
I broke it down to the relationship we have with our nation and what we consider patriotism to mean and how we manifest it.
Right.
So that is how they manifest it. And that is the reason why they're able to do what they do the way they do. Yes.
Nice. Interesting.
Well, there is this aspect of ethos is there, certainly. Many companies of Japan regards their company both as a private entity, but also the vehicle of the society, so that the sense of a public mission is there for company. And also in a similar way, the various services and the provision of the goods included is regarded one as a private business action, but also it's a service to the society. So that is, of course, they are all private companies. They have to pursue their benefit and the interest, but always they are trying to balance the two aspects: the public societal role
and the national good
Yeah.
and the business. It's an interesting balance. How is it? How do you export that balance? Because to me, it's a massive export. Because if that is your thinking and that is how you go about what you do in everyday life, and you can see the result of it, how do you get others to be able to understand that this is what they need to do to go about their business?
Well, it's not a secret. As your cousin,
yes.
If Kenyans can go to Japan and touch the society,
Yes.
you can learn it immediately and acquire it immediately. Go to Japan. Let's go together.
Yeah. Is this an invite to Japan?
there is a program that I also encountered. It was called Study in Japan.
Yes.
Where you get to know of the institutions in Japan that offer education.
Right.
Some in the Japanese language, some even in English. But if you're going to Japan, for heaven's sake, why don't you just learn the language? Why
Right.
do you want to go and study in English? Immerse yourself into the culture. And there are many such universities. I'm sure the ambassador can speak to this.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are over 100 universities.
Yes.
You can get the degree only by taking the class given in English.
Mhm.
So that is a big advantage for the English-speaking people,
Right.
like Kenyans. But also, if you go there, you can have more opportunity to learn and study Japanese. And if you get the Japanese language, is the world surrounding you in Japan will much bigger.
Right. Okay.
But may I touch on another aspect?
Please, by all means.
Kenyan athletes, many Kenyan athletes at the university level are invited to the Japanese universities to be a distant runner, to be a marathon runner. And some of the world-renowned marathon athletes of Kenya, such as Samuel Kamau Wanjiru,
Yes.
and Douglas Wakihuri,
Yes.
are grown in that way. So that is another way
Yes.
for Kenyans to be exposed to Japan.
Right.
This week, the World Athlete Championship is held in Tokyo, and many Kenyans are getting medals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
exhilarating.
we are celebrating them every day.
Yeah.
And today we're waiting for more medals.
That's right. So, this interesting aspect is that the Japanese athletes are also attracted to Kenya because of the high altitude and then the special training system of Kenya. So many Japanese runners are in Iten and Eldoret for their own trainings.
All right.
So the cooperations are both ways.
Yes. We like that. Finally, Your Excellency, before I let you go, what are we looking in terms of the future of the cooperation between Kenya and Japan?
Well, following what I said lastly, then the relationship will become increasingly both ways. Japan keep offering to Kenya so that the Kenya can be more resilient, strategically more autonomous. That's what we keep doing it. But many aspects of Kenya, Japan has started to learn how to you interact with other cultures,
Right.
and how to cope with the chronic diseases, and how to cope with the increasing severity of the climate change, and what will be the way to jointly combat those severeness. So in the future, the direction of offer from Kenya to Japan will increase.
Yes.
And then we will have a much more balanced and much more prosperous cooperation.
Thank you so much. And actually, on the matters of diseases, on tropical diseases, Japan is really putting in a lot of emphasis and research in helping Kenya deal with some of these tropical diseases. Your Excellency, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. We appreciate your time and for letting us know some of the things that happening between our countries, and also how we can collaborate further to ensure that that cohesion and, of course, the friendliness also continues. And we invite you again to come and tell us much more on that.
It's my great pleasure. Thank you.
Karibu sana. That is where we come to a stop as far as that conversation with the ambassador is concerned. Right now, though, here is the news with Soki Brenda.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
and soul. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Radio Generation. Radio Generation assumes no responsibility or liability for the interviewee's views. This This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Soki Brenda. Lifestyle-related illnesses such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease are on the rise, with young people increasingly affected. This is according to Dr. Austin Okoth, Chief Medical Officer at RFH Healthcare. Speaking in an interview with the Radio Generation, Dr. Okoth said changing diets, low physical activity, and excessive sugar and salt consumption are fueling the surge in these preventable diseases. Dr. Okoth explained that lifestyle diseases arise from choices such as physical inactivity and diets high in processed ingredients.
There's a lot, we are taking a lot more salt right now than used to be the case. Why? It's mostly because of fast foods that we eat. A lot of the fast foods that are really meant to give you like an instant burst of flavor. Immediately you take it, and that's why oftentimes we find ourselves like really addicted to some of these things, because immediately you take it, you get that instant gratification. So you find, for example, that the carbohydrates that we're taking right now, oftentimes they are carbohydrates that are very, very refined. Immediately you take it, it increases your sugar levels immediately. That's a bad thing, because sugar is a bad thing, because if you have, if you take a lot of sugar in your diet, that leads to a situation whereby you constantly have high sugar levels in your blood. And if you have high sugar levels in your blood, your ability to absorb that sugar is going to be diminished, because it's in higher levels at all times.
Lawmakers have blocked the government's plan to channel parts of air passenger charges to the Kenya Meteorological Department, citing a legal gap. The National Assembly's Transport Committee dismissed a proposed amendment to the Air Passenger Service Charge Act that sought to allocate funds to the yet-to-be-formed Kenya Meteorological Service Authority. The committee, chaired by India Member of Parliament George Kariuki, struck out the proposal, explaining that the amendments would have directed money to an entity that has not been established in law. Police have arrested 4 suspected members of the Panga Boys gang during an intelligence-led operation in the Lebam Tomondoni area on the outskirts of Mtwapa Township. The raid, led by the OCS of Mtwapa Police Station, targeted a makeshift hideout where officers recovered 3 pangas and a small slasher, which was secured as exhibits. The suspects are being held at Mtwapa Police Station pending arraignment as the National Service intensifies efforts to dismantle organized gangs threatening public safety. And the government has vowed to press ahead with the rollouts of the electronic procurement system. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has insisted the transition to digital is irreversible. Speaking before the National Assembly Implementation Committee, Mbadi defended the 387 million shilling platform procured in 2022, noting it is more cost-effective than IFMIS and aimed at reducing expenses, fighting corruption, and empowering small businesses.
By next week, we don't want to hear any excuses. In fact, some of the challenges we are facing is officers, procuring officers who don't want to do what they should do. There will be pushback, but there must be push forward. And that push forward must just come from the government.
The advantages outweighs the manual system. What we are just saying is your plan of implementation. And I want you to assure this committee, it is not because of Washington pressure that you must implement this so that there's some funding to be released.
Because the funds were released in the month of June, some even in July.
The government has allocated 50 billion shillings to rehabilitate the Nairobi River and address pollution caused by dysfunctional sewers. Water and Sanitation Principal Secretary Julius Korir said the funds will go towards setting up and expanding sewer lines, as well as reinforcing and widening the riverbanks. The projects will focus on informal settlements with the goal of treating over 60,000 cubic meters of water.
These are the towns or the areas that came after as Nairobi expanded, and the expansion has been faster than the rate of expanding the sewerage in Nairobi. So this project was coming to connect those Nairobians to the sewerage, and it is targeting to treat over 60,000 cubic meters of wastewater per day.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. I'm Soki Brenda.
There was morning radio.
I've never seen anything like this.
But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey.
You got it locked.
Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed, this is the home of hard truths and bold insights. My name is Mbuvi. I have City with me here in the studio, and we also do have our guest for this particular hour, and we are about to talk about some heavy stuff. I hope you guys are ready for this. Now, allow me to introduce Camila Okongo. She is a nuclear scientist, and we want to talk about the presence of toxic heavy metals in cosmetics. Camila, a very good welcome to Radio Generation Kenya.
Hello, hi, how are you?
We're quite fine. You're a nuclear scientist.
Yes.
I am curious to find out, where did you study this nuclear science? Because najua Kenya kuna a lot of degrees ni nuclear ndio sijui tunaweza isomea wapi.
Studied at the University of Nairobi.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
There's an Institute of Nuclear Science and Technology.
Yes.
At the University of Nairobi. It's a fully fledged institute. Yes.
And the reason I'm asking this is because we usually focus on a lot of things, engineering, we focus on medicine, law, we focus on the arts. But to be honest, I have never known, I'm finding out for the first time that we actually do have nuclear science in Kenya. I mean, forgive me for being ignorant. I usually think hizo ni vitu tapata Russia, the US, China, and so on and so forth. But it's actually interesting to know that we do have nuclear scientists in this country. Yes. So once again, welcome to Radio Generation.
Thank you for having me.
When you talk about toxic materials in our cosmetics, just how bad is it? Because recently I saw a report that was released, and it was by the European Union. They were talking about the fact that we have like the gels that ladies use on their nails.
Yes.
Apparently they contain some cancerous, carcinogenic material.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
How bad is the situation?
Okay, so for starters, in Kenya we tend to have a high level of counterfeiting that is currently available in the market, because some of these counterfeits are developed to offer a better price for like the original products, because you can't really spend so much money on like skincare when your basic needs have not been met.
Right.
So that's why there's a lot of like counterfeiting problem that is in the country. And then there's also like some products that are imported and then they bypass the regulatory protocol that has been set aside for the heavy metals and the other things, that the other toxic compounds that are supposed to be in the product basically. So some of these products, they bypass the protocol and they are brought in illegally, if you would put it like that. So, and that's a huge problem that is there. And so you'd find a lot of these problems now cause now the heavy metal content in the cosmetic products, and also others that are manufactured in very unsanitary industries and environments that are not necessarily, again, they've bypassed protocols. They're probably doing something at the back street somewhere. They're not really doing it where it's supposed to be done. Or even sometimes it can even be like accidental somehow, like some manufacturing processes would probably involve some heavy metals, maybe in like the raw materials that were used, in the equipment that were used, also could also include heavy metal contamination in some of these products.
What is heavy metal?
Heavy metals are metals that are in a particular point in the periodic table. They are not light metals like aluminium and all that. They are heavy metals where they rank lower in the
The periodic table.
Yes.
So the heaviness, is it their weight? Is it their makeup?
Actually, it's also weight. It has got a lot to do with weight.
Their density.
Yes, the density in the nucleus
of that particular
of the
metal.
atom.
Of the atom.
Atom.
Yes, the nucleus.
So ni atom imejaa na vitu vingi.
Yes, that's why you call it heavy metal.
Yeah, we have metals common. These were common back in the day, but nowadays at least they have reduced their commonality, the commonness, such as lead. Nowadays, you even see in petrol stations there's unleaded premium, unleaded diesel, because back in the day, lead was actually a serious problem. It was almost available and present in a lot of things that we used to use.
But let me ask, if they were present, there was a function they were playing, or were they there accidentally? Or it was assumed there was some benefit to having it there?
Actually, for some of them, there's no benefit they are offering to.
So how do they get there? Where are they put in the first place?
And perhaps you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but for example, for lead, it was naturally occurring in a lot of substances. For instance, lead paint for a very long time was a thing. Until
where did the lead come from if it wasn't put there?
It's just a metal like calcium. It's a metal like potassium, a metal like
so lithium. It is found in the ingredients that make paint
in the environment. So in by virtue of it being abundantly available, when you're manufacturing some of these products, it will naturally be there. However, in some instances, it was added to either strengthen particular products, for example, plastics, the paints that we were just mentioning. Sometimes it was added to enhance either how those particular substances perform or how they last longer on their application. But with time, like for example in lead, it was put in the fuel, and it had a purpose to help in catalyzing the burning of the fuel. But with time, yes, it did.
So why did they then remove it? Meaning its catalyzing properties ceased to exist.
I mean, they found different other substances that could be used, or different ways of enhancing the combustion engines, such that the lead is not necessarily needed.
If we bring it to the products that we are speaking of,
yes,
how do they find? How does these heavy metals find their way into these products?
So for some of these heavy metals, it is the raw materials that are the ones. Okay, for example, if raw material is sourced from the ground, something like bentonite clay, or like henna that is gotten from like plants and all that.
The henna that women apply on their bodies.
Yes. Just naturally, like if it's a naturally occurring element and it's a naturally occurring ingredient, definitely it may have like it might have concentrations of heavy metal from the fact that it's from the ground, because the ground is abundant in a lot of this heavy metals basically. So that's where it could probably come from as one of the reasons. And then now with the manufacturing practices, and some of them are put there by different users for different uses. For example, with elements like chromium, depending on the element, is used as a colorant. Elements like iron is also used as a colorant. Basically, they have their purposes, but for some of them, they don't really have their purposes versus the effect, the health effect they have. They do not balance, so it's completely unnecessary to have it there. Yes.
Yeah, and actually, there's a doctor we were with here a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about some of the products that women apply, and not just women, even men apply some of these things nowadays. The things that we apply on our skin for skin lightening, and he pointed out that mercury is a very effective element when it comes to skin lightening. Now, for someone who doesn't know that it is harmful to their skin, they'll continue using this product. But the person who manufactured it knows hii kitu itakuumiza.
Yes.
So and that's why I was asking you, just how bad is it, because we've been having these conversations lately, and I'm thinking, is this one of those silent pandemics that we do not know about?
Definitely there is a problem, because when I was doing my research, my thesis, I found some pretty alarming results, and some things did not really make sense as to, for example, why is this here? Especially for sometimes you'd find elements in products where I do not expect to find this element here. It's, for example, a powder. Why am I finding mercury in a powder? So I'm just not understanding. It does not make sense for you. Like probably okay, with the skin lightening products you expect to find the mercury and all that, but then you end up finding like all these other elements, for example, in products that you did not expect to find them, and in concentrations that you also did not expect to find, like over the regulatory limit, but not for all of them. It's very valid because some products would have like a high concentration of a particular metal, but when it comes to another metal it's a bit lower. But then there's others that have like a cumulative burden from different metals put together, and that also now brings a huge problem on the body. So yes, there is a problem. And it's not something that okay, there's a bit of like awareness that is coming out, but like in terms of now actually the toxic heavy metal burden that is there is a problem.
Let me understand what you're saying. You are saying that there are products that from a legally accepted point of view, there is a certain concentration of heavy metals that is permissible.
Yes.
I don't think it's even a legal limit. It's a medical limit that is acceptable.
Yeah.
The legality of it is very different.
Oh, the legality of it comes in because of
after the medical aspect has been established.
Because if the product is deemed or has been proven to cause harm, then the purpose for which it was intended clearly is not what the outcome will display.
Yes,
that's where the legality comes from. That's why I've started from the legal aspects of it, because at the end of the day, even proving that this quantity or this concentration is wrong, yes, it may be scientific, but again, there's a legal, because when you have a product, you actually declare what it can do, you declare what the ingredients inside it are. Now, if you then find that that is not the case, it means you have lied. Okay, you've gone against the very thing that people buy it because they believe it's supposed to do something else. But the moment you change that composition, it's a completely different product now. It is not what they're buying. And if it's then causing harm, nobody buys it so that it can cause harm. They buy it so that it can be of some benefit to them.
Yes.
But the discovery now indicates that the harm it's going to do outstrips whatever benefit you thought it is that you were supposed to get. Hence the legality of it. Now, my question, if there is a preponderance of these products within the market, it then points to people deliberately, or is it that they think that there's some benefit but they're ignorant and they have not understood the harm that could be caused?
Okay, so there are two different elements here, where there is the products being the elements being included in the products, yes, deliberately, because some people want to, for example, with mercury, some products can have mercury and it's not listed in the ingredient list that it has mercury, to probably do a certain thing faster, like probably if it's a hyperpigmentation, to make it faster, and probably the person will not know. But then there's also the other element of it's not intentional, again, with the manufacturing processes and the raw materials used and the machinery used and everything that is put together. It's not really necessarily, they didn't, it was not intended really, but it ended up there maybe because they were a bit lax even in how they prepared, and they weren't really particular about including the actual protocol and everything. So there's two different parts as to, again, now the problem that we have, the including it deliberately and the including of it in a not deliberate manner, if I put it like that. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, but the harm is still caused.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to go to the preventative aspects. I'm going to look at the marketing of these products and why it is of concern, because it would have, for this to be a matter of discussion and concern, there's a decent enough number of people who pursue these products. Okay, some of these products, what do they generally do?
Okay.
Because you said cosmetics. Cosmetics is broad.
Yes.
So what do they do?
Okay.
Or rather, what are they supposed to do?
Okay, so cosmetics is generally classified in several subcategories. There's hair care products, there's skin care products, there's makeup products, there is body care, which is basically skin care, and there's perfumes, there's nail products generally. So with, for example, with skin care products, there are products that generally deal with, for example, hyperpigmentation. There are products that generally target specific concerns that people may have. For example, they may have acne, they may have rashes, they may have all these other things. And then there's also with skin care products again, with regards to the skin, people have eczema, people have dry skin, and they probably want that targeted. And then there's also, again, with the people that will probably want skin lightening, but not in the element of like bleaching it, maybe brightening it to a certain level, not necessarily eradicating all the melanin away. Basically, the people who would want, probably they have sun damage, their skin barrier has been destroyed, they want to fix that. So all these different cosmetics have different purposes. And then the heavy metals that are in the cosmetics, for example, going back to the example with mercury, if you're dealing with hyperpigmentation, it does a much faster job in the counterfeit product. So probably people will see, oh, it's giving a faster result in a short period of time, so this is actually good. It means the product is working. Yes.
What are some of the effects of these products on pregnant women and their unborn children?
Okay, so with the heavy metal concentration, things like lead, especially things like mercury, actually a lot of these heavy metals like chromium, cobalt, nickel, they have issues with neurotoxicity, especially, for example, with pregnant women, and also for the unborn kid. They could also bring about reproductive health issues, and during the pregnancy and even after the birth, they could also bring about brain damage, they could bring kidney damage, they could bring a lot of problems in the body. Basically, it's not just limited to one thing. Yes.
Now, like in the case of the EU, the European Union, and what they recently did in regards to the nail gel polish products, they said that it actually also messes with hormonal balances in our bodies. Yeah, can it, just by applying it on my nails, I start having hormonal imbalances.
Okay, because the human body is very interconnected, and some of this it's not an the human body is not like an isolated system. Like the systems in the body are not isolated. So one system will affect the other system. So for example, if you apply something on the skin, and also with the hair and the nails and everything else, basically it gets absorbed into different systems, and it might tend to, for example, some of these metals accumulate in the body for a long period of time. So once it's in the body, it cannot get out. So even if it's like a small amount, it will accumulate slowly for a long period of time, over a long period of time, and then you probably may end up having effects like 10, 20 years from now. It might not even be immediate. So
that means that someone for young individuals who are using these products over time, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they might start seeing things like cancer. And they're wondering what's the...
it might be a probability that now over a long period of time, these are now issues that are going to crop up, like now in the near future, basically. Yes.
What? There's also another issue of microplastics, and some of these things that are said, and we read them in the news or in the newspapers, and we read them, we watch them on YouTube, and then they give us that apocalyptic feeling. Microplastics, Jimara, they're called now forever plastics, or forever molecules and chemicals that once they get into your body, they are never leaving. What are microplastics? So the way we just use kawaida plastic, what are they called, products from PET bottles that we take soda from, or mineral water from. There's some products that are in those particular there's some molecules that are in those products that once we take and they get into our bodies, you will never excrete them through your behind, you will never excrete them through your sweat, and you'll never excrete them through your makojo.
And this has scientifically been proven.
Yes.
And who exactly conducted these studies?
The scientists that did it. But whoever did that research is not of your concern right now. the concern or the thing that you should be concerned with is the fact that once that molecule has entered your body, it will never leave. It will make some of your cells its home.
If I can't verify that research,
bro, it's verifiable.
Well, there's a reason why you find me protesting. Earlier in the morning, you were constructing sentences with the word no.
Yeah.
When it comes to, we were discussing the little subject of taxing content creators.
Right.
No was the predominant. No. I say, hey, now my turn. No.
Okay.
If you are going to talk about these microplastics, first of all, I need to know how they exist. I need to know the research that was conducted around it.
Yep.
I need to know the sample size. I need to know where it was conducted. What the research process, was it longitudinal? Was it double-blinded? What type of research was conducted? So that when I read it, who peer-reviewed it? Where was it published? Was it in a reputable publication? So that when I read it, I understand that this information is verifiable.
So it wasn't done someplace in Githurai?
Yeah, but if somebody's just talking about it because somebody on social media brought it up.
So Camilla, is that a subject you're comfortable talking about?
My research does not cover the scope of microplastics, so I may not have enough knowledge to contribute to this matter.
All right. And on the issue of those forever molecules that apparently they get into you, they're never leaving, also something that you'd like to...
With the heavy metals, with regards to heavy metals of microplastics.
Forget the plastics. This man's dream. I don't know what it is with him.
No, as you guys are talking, actually, let me just Google that stuff. But
no, yes, you Google
Camilla,
that.
Saidia huyu jamaa kuelewa haya mambo.
Tafadhali. These heavy metals,
yes,
they also have some micro elements in them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in our body, would they? So, how exactly do they get into your body? Is it through the bloodstream? And what is the harm that they are likely to cause?
Okay. So again, when I was explaining in terms of when you apply it on your skin, which is the largest organ in your body, it definitely gets absorbed and it goes through the bloodstream, and then it accumulates in certain key organs that you have. For example, it might accumulate around the kidney, it might accumulate around the brain, it might accumulate around the liver. And then this will bring different effects depending on where they have accumulated and for how long they've been accumulating on these sites, definitely. So that is the general explanation I would definitely give. So it will now go into the specific after effects that it might have, for example, with kidney problems, kidney failures, brain damage, neurotoxicity, hormonal issues and all that, depending on where they're accumulated and for how long they've been accumulating in the sites.
Yeah. I've just Googled that information I was talking about. Can I just briefly tell you about it?
Please.
So a forever chemical, that is what it is actually called. I was calling it forever molecule, but it is actually called a forever chemical molecule. It refers to a per and polyfluoroalkyl substance, abbreviated as PFAS. A large class of thousands of synthetic chemicals characterized by exceptionally strong carbon-fluorine bonds that resist degradation. That means they can never be broken down, whether chemically or organically. This stability causes PFAS to persist indefinitely in the environment and accumulate in living organisms. PFAS are widely used in consumer products like non-stick cookware, zile pan non-stick, stain-resistant fabrics, and food packaging, leading to widespread contamination of water, soil, food, and posing potential health risks such as links to certain cancers and immune system harm. So that's a brief of these things. So you can actually go check them out.
Essentially, they're synthetic.
They are synthetic. We are the ones who manufactured them as human beings. They were not naturally occurring.
That's why they can't That's why they cannot be broken down.
Yes. So they are found in fabric, some of the clothes that we are wearing nowadays, food packaging material, like I told you, the PET bottles that we take beverages with, and cosmetics, some of the things that we're discussing here, cleaning products such as detergents and firefighting foam.
So essentially, if you're saying they're not biodegradable, then you're actually saying that apart from just the human body, when they get into the soil, they will also be you will not be able to biodegrade them. So even when you plant your foods, some of them will end up in your food and you'll end up eating these things. That's what you're saying, isn't
exactly. And once they get into a living organism, you or even your cells of your body, skin,
they don't live.
They don't.
So why do we produce these things which in the end harm us? At the time when we're producing them, what is the pretended good that we expect from them? Because we don't produce them for harm.
For instance, if you read some of the things they've said there, fabrics that do not stain easily. So whoever was manufacturing,
essentially it's a vanity product.
Exactly. Non-stick cookware. So that
again, vanity product.
Exactly. PET bottles that we take beverages with. To have probably affordable products that we can use, make them cheaper so that everyone can access them.
Make them
so
cheaper.
A commercial aspect basically to all these things that we're mentioning.
So the commercial aspect is what introduces this harm to us, because they are sold to us as being beneficial, and the side effects are not heightened enough.
Yeah.
So we do not know.
Yeah. And in regards to the research bodies that are involved in this, so we have regulatory action being taken by agencies like the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the European Union also have their own agency that actually checks to ensure that some of these products are no longer either being manufactured or at least they're not being widely used in their territories, and by extension perhaps if they're not being used in their territories, then they will not be mass produced to be used by the rest of the world.
Camille, let me ask this question. Talk to us a little bit about your research and what it is that you are researching on, so that we have a background to it and how it is you arrived at this particular knowledge that we are now seeking to discuss.
Okay. So my research is looking at the assessment of toxic heavy metal exposure caused by cosmetic products that are sold particularly in Nairobi, Kenya. It's a smaller scale version. It does it's not a large scale research. I did it as myself and research assistants, so it was generally for my thesis, and generally what it was about is, again, with the issues about
don't
the content.
downplay the research, whether it's for your thesis or not. You're following a scientific process to try and see if you can determine a certain outcome.
Yes.
So please continue.
Yes. So generally the problem that is there with the problem statement is that there's a huge issue with counterfeiting again, and there is a problem with the importation of products bypassing protocol, and then just asking the general questions of what is, again, what you're asking, how bad is it, and what are the effects of these products, especially over a long period of time, and what carcinogenic risk and non-carcinogenic risk does it have on the body. So I did sample preparation. I went and sourced out samples, did sample preparations, ran them in the lab, and then we were looking at the heavy metal concentration, particularly for carcinogenic elements, which are generally limited to mercury, lead, arsenic, chromium, cobalt, and nickel. Those are the classified. The other heavy metals, but like iron, for example, but iron is not necessarily a carcinogenic metal, also because iron also serves a very important function in the body. So that's why I decided to also focus on these other elements that may cause, for example, a carcinogenic problem over a long period of time. So from that, I was able to find out that there was a huge variation in the concentration of heavy metals in some of these products, some of which I did not expect, honestly. It was pretty alarming. And then also I found that, again, with the issue of counterfeiting, because I also sourced for some products, I did a direct comparison with the genuine products sourced from a genuine source, and then go get the counterfeit version of that product, maybe from a place like River Road or a place that is known for counterfeiting. And you can probably tell out of the packaging. For example, you use elements like the packaging, maybe there's inconsistencies in the packaging, inconsistencies in the spelling, and you probably outrightly know that this is counterfeit. So just picking that, for example, with Vaseline, for example, you find a Vaseline product, maybe you go find a counterfeit version of that is like Vaseline or something. You're like, this is counterfeit. Let's go test and do a direct comparison of what this is basically. So I was finding like for majority of also the products that were tested as counterfeit, like the counterfeit products, because half of my data set was more or less like the genuine products, and then the half was the counterfeit products. So I was finding like with the half of the counterfeit products, they actually had a very high heavy metal concentration as expected. So it basically confirmed the bias of like, if you see something and it looks very suspicious, it definitely is suspicious, because we did the whole comparison and tested in the lab. You're like, okay. And then there's also a bit like of an alarming thing, because for some products that would term as probably legitimate or genuine, for some of them you would probably also find sometimes a higher level of contamination of heavy metals, sometimes also more or less like at par with a counterfeit version, and for some of them, not for all of them. So this is not also to say that, okay, so since it's original, then it's the best product, depending on probably how it was manufactured, because some of the products, they might be international brands, but they were probably also now manufactured now in a place in industrial area, in an industry in industrial area, because it's like when you look at the back and you see manufactured by something industries in industrial area, but it's an international brand. And yes, so you'd have such comparisons where it's like for some of the genuine products you'll find a bit of an alarming case, and then also for the counterfeit products it confirmed the bias of them having a high concentration of heavy metals basically. And also depending on the level, the surface area of application, for example with lotions, and because you apply them all over the body, depending also on the kind of product, and you'd find probably it might have a higher risk. I'm not saying that lotions are bad, I'm not saying that they're bad, but like with some of the samples that I analyzed, I found that, for example, since it's applied, a higher body surface area is used in the application, therefore it gives you a higher risk. For example, if the lotion has a high concentration of a heavy metal, for example like chromium or cobalt, then you expose yourself a bit more than, for example, a very localized product, for example, that you apply on your eyes. But also for the eyes, the level of absorption is also very high. For example, for products you'd apply on the mucous membranes for the eyes, around the lips, or maybe you inhale them, they also accumulate in the body through those channels. So it's not just only the skin. Some products will have cumulative risk because of the fact that you're exposed to it through the skin, and you're also exposed to it when you breathe it in, and probably when you apply it around your eyes, it also gets absorbed through that channel. So yes, there was definitely those risks. And then also finding like the lifetime cancer risk with regards to the metals that, like for example like chromium and cobalt, are very high for some of these products. A lot of actually the products that I was able to analyze for my sample size. So generally it just invited more questions to find out exactly what the full story is on a Kenyan context, to a Nairobi context, because I'm just contributing to the story so I would want probably to find out what's the full story of exactly how this is on the ground fully.
You know, sometimes we tend to agree that we tend to think that some of these problems are a third world problem. I don't know if your research covered outside Kenya or even outside Africa. Do people in America, for example, in the UK and Germany, experiencing the same problem of, number one, counterfeit products, and number two, dangerous content in those products?
Definitely, this is not a problem only limited to third world countries. It's something that also other researchers around the world have also explored, and there are published papers about all these issues. There are people who've done researches in their various places and all that. So it's not really limited to only like the third world countries. The challenge that we may have also with regards to us is some of the standards that are currently there regarding the limits that have been set for some of these heavy metals. They are not in agreement, because generally, like for example, there's the FDA, there's the EU, there's the one that BVL for Germany, and then now in Kenya, when you localize it, there's KEBS, and then you'd find, like for example, some of the limits would not be in agreement. For example, one body would say 20 ppm for lead, for example. Another body would say 0.5. For example, for the EU, they give 0.5, and then for example, for lead, for KEBS, they'd probably give 20, and you'd find like there's a bit of
do you find that to be a problem? Because why would the EU put 0.5, for example, parts per million, and then KEBS here? We have the same knowledge. We went probably to the same universities. We put it at 20 parts per million.
Definitely it is a problem, and some of the questions that were again emerging from the research is should some of these standards definitely be revised, basically to include actually like some of these things will make sense. So
because I feel like we have to wait for the EU because right now they are more or less the leaders as far as regulation is concerned. So we have to wait for the EU to say, so this gel is bad.
But wait a moment.
And it's not like we do not have the same research.
Many of these products that we are speaking of, where are they manufactured?
Okay, so I had locally manufactured products and then international manufactured products. Also, I did a comparison, speaking of which, and for some of the products...
Is it possible for you to tell us, like, for example, outside Kenya, where they were manufactured? US, China?
Without mentioning the brand.
Yes. I'll give an example, for a product, a hair product manufactured in Brazil. And I would probably compare with the same kind of product, maybe a hair treatment, and compare with the same product, not really the same product, but like a similar product manufactured in Kenya. And for example, I'd find like the hair product manufactured in Brazil with the Brazil limits actually had a very low heavy metal concentration across the board with all the heavy metals, as opposed to, for example, something manufactured elsewhere. So you'd find...
Elsewhere being where, for instance?
Elsewhere would be Kenya.
So let me ask.
Yes.
If you eliminate these heavy metals, is it a process that has a serious cost attached to it?
If you eliminate what?
The heavy metals. Because I'm looking at the product you want to produce. Essentially, you're trying to mimic an outcome that the other ones have. All right? So, but what your selling point is that it's cheaper than the other. But then the heavy metals come into this equation. So my question is, if the heavy metals are a natural occurrence in the materials you use for creating these products, are you therefore saying that the process of eliminating these heavy metals adds to the cost? That's the question I'm asking.
Okay.
Actually, as you figure out that answer, you see, for example, counterfeit alcohol. You'll find that the really good fine alcohol is probably even triple distilled, and they will even filter it with charcoal to ensure that they capture.
That's what they tell you, but it will go on.
Yeah, to ensure that they capture some of these bad elements in their manufacturing processes.
So essentially, it's
for someone who's doing it in Kariobangi light industries, they will not triple distill it. They will probably distill it once and then forget the charcoal filtration process and go straight to just packaging.
You know, the sales narrative, for me, I have an issue. Because do we have a filter where there are some product, what you call investigators and product auditors, forget the ones who are aligned to the people who produce the goods. Okay, I'll give an example. There's a gentleman in the 80s and 90s in America called Ralph Nader. He's the one who first brought my attention to this. The auto industry, man, that man checked them. If you advertise that this car can do XYZ and perform XYZ,
he verifies it.
It had better do that. It had better, because he will point it out and say that this
is an independent investigator.
He was independent completely. This differential slip, whatever it is they're talking about, there nothing slips there. There's nothing differential about it. He would point it out. So the motor industry became very, very careful, but he expanded whatever he was doing to other products, meaning being held to account for what you say this product is and what it does, and in detail.
Yeah, and that is why some manufacturers will even recall their products, because what was advertised, for example, there was that issue with Nestle a couple of years back, where one of their products was really harmful to Nestle, yeah, was really harmful to the population. And what do? They recalled it. Actually, it had glass in it. Johnson & Johnson at one point also had to recall some of their products, because they realized through their research that certain batches had been sent out and hadn't gone through the proper quality control measures.
I agree.
Yes.
Some motor manufacturers have also done certain things with certain models. The models, so they suddenly find, wait a moment, this thing isn't quite doing, and they recall it.
Yes.
Now, the light industries you speak of,
in Kariobangi,
the light industries you speak of are not known to recall anything, do they?
They won't recall. Why would they recall? Number one, they're not even legal, or they don't exist on paper or anywhere.
No, they do, because
not all of them.
If they're being sold, the outlets they're being sold in, are they regular shops, or is it some back street somewhere where they're sold? How are these things? How do they get into the market?
Okay, for some of them are definitely back streets. Not all of them, but there are other they are regulated and authorized distributors of some of these products. But when you get the, like for example, you're looking for the counterfeit version, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to get it in the authorized distributor. It's definitely some back streets somewhere, probably just has a sticker slapped on it,
but you will get it at the retailer.
Yes, it is a retailer. And probably some on the street, really, like the street vendors who sell, a lot of them. I also sampled a lot of street vendors, so it's not really it's not a direct, like you got it from here, you've purchased it, you got a receipt for it. It's, you just buy it and go.
Yeah, for example, City, sometimes you'd find a product A, let's call this lotion A. This lotion at a kawaida supermarket, registered supermarket, you'll probably find it being sold for 1,000 shillings. But there is a guy at the corner selling it at a wholesale price of 640. And you're like, 640 versus 1,000. There are some places you expect a discount, maybe. If it's been sold at 1,000, you probably expect someone who's giving you it a discount will probably sell it at 950 or even 900. That's a reasonable kind of discount, because you do not know what they have negotiated with the manufacturer. But when Naivas is selling it at 1,000, lakini kuna mtu pale backstreet anauza at 500, and they are all making profits, that's when you should question yourself and ask, kwani we were 500 ameitoa wapi?
Yes, because you also see, again, going back to the point about the inconsistencies in the packaging. When you compare that product and now the other one that you've gotten in the back street, there's definitely inconsistencies in packaging, and the original brands have also flag that out and also doing campaigns on it, of like, this is how you differentiate an original product from the counterfeit product. Maybe it's missing a line or something, or the consistency of the product is different, maybe the fragrance is different. You'll find definitely there's inconsistencies in it. Yes,
the smell is off.
Yes,
yeah,
and that is off from one product to the other. So that consistency, even in the batch you're seeing, there is no consistency.
I'm talking about like when you get the original one
and compared to,
and now they compare with the one that you gotten from the back street somewhere, you'll find there are two different, even from right from the packaging.
Essentially, there are two very different products.
Yes, but they're branded as similar. Okay, the counterfeit version is branded as a similar version. Maybe you'll find the colors are slightly different, or the font is different, or the spelling is different. Or then now when you go down into, like, when you open the product and probably you smell it, you feel like
the smell is off.
The smell is off, or the consistency of the texture is different. You'll just feel like, okay, there's something here, but probably people will probably ignore it because they're not so attentive to detail.
Yeah, I mean, even for products such as, again, going back to alcohol, because it's really counterfeited a lot. Someone will tell you, the one that I drank maybe on Mombasa Road, and then the one that I went to and drank on Ngong Road, something is just weird. There's something weird about the taste of that one. And yeah, so we do know that counterfeits exist.
Yes.
In your research, I'm sure you you must have discovered there's a commercial aspect to why some of these products are being sold the way they were being sold, right? What was your conclusion, and who is the target audience for this counterfeit and poison list products?
Sorry, come again.
Who is the target for this counterfeit and poison list products, these heavy metal laden products?
Okay, so the target for the target market for some of these products is definitely people who again could probably want a cheaper alternative to, number one, some of the pricier brands that exist, because right now there's a whole surge in skincare products, and everybody is advertising skincare products, and influencers are getting on it and everything. So probably somebody would see them getting advertised by an influencer, and probably they cannot afford the original, and probably
so
now this
low income individuals.
Yes, and also again, with the state of the economy, sometimes you would not want to spend so much on skincare when your basic needs are not met. So definitely you would want something that fits your budget more easily. And if something looks legitimate, you'd be like, okay, why not? Let me just go with this. It doesn't mean that I have to now go buy it in that place and some fancy beauty shop so that it can be legitimate. So
did you say that the influencers selling illegitimate stuff out here?
No. I'm not saying that influencers are selling illegitimate stuff. I'm saying, for example, there's so much, like, there's a surge in the awareness of like skincare products right now, and now there's a whole trend of people now getting skincare routines done, and probably somebody would want to have a skincare routine for themselves, but they cannot afford the products that are advertised, for example, by the influencer or that are currently on the market, and they see a cheaper alternative for that. So they decide to go with that.
Let me read a few comments here. Kuna Norbert Ward anasema heavy metals are insoluble. This is Norbert. Yes, heavy metals are insoluble. We can even consume it through the food stuff we eat. Fishing in Lake Naivasha has been banned due to the presence of heavy metals in the fish. Is that so?
For the fish?
For the Lake Naivasha fish stuff, and but even in the Indian Ocean, I hear a lot of fish is captured and it has mercury in it.
Yes.
Same with Lake Victoria, if you want to take it that far. But there's a direct correlation between industries that exist within close proximity to that water body, and where it is that they release their refuse or whatever it is that they that very direct. Yes.
Okay. Someone has a question for you. This is the Ricardo Spice. Ricardo is asking, good morning City Mbuvi, Ednah and the guest. Kindly ask the guest, lipstick that is applied, is it made or does it contain transitional elements in the periodic table?
Okay. So he's asking whether the lipstick also contains other elements. Definitely. It's not just limited to heavy metals, because, for example, lipstick, if you're looking, for example, with red lipstick, the majority element in a red lipstick is iron, because iron is the major colorant
to make it look red.
Definitely. So there are other elements that are in the lipstick, definitely, when you run the sample, and you'll find zinc, you'll find calcium, you'll find all these other elements are probably present. Not probably, they are present, because I ran the samples and I saw that they were there, only in different concentrations. But now my research was only, my scope was heavy metals, but the others are still present. Yes.
You mentioned something that is also very widely present in some of these products, arsenic. How does arsenic get in there?
Now, arsenic, again, is not supposed to ideally be there. Of course, it's going to be present because of the fact that it's abundant. It's in the earth. You're probably going to find it there.
And arsenic and cyanide have more or less the same effects on the human body.
Yes. But then with arsenic, I could find that with regards to the concentration of all the other heavy metals versus arsenic was generally the one that ranked one of the lowest concentration that I could find. So it wasn't so much of like the cause of alarm for majority of the products,
right?
Because when you compare the concentration of something like chromium versus arsenic will generally rank lower, and majority of the products would be within the regulatory limits as opposed to the other heavy metals.
So now that we have scared the public into looking beautiful, what do we do now? Because some of us, we buy these products for our girlfriends, our wives, unknowingly most of the time. You know, you just go walk into a beauty shop and unauliza ile bibi yangu atafurahia ni gani, and you're told shika hii, we pay and we leave. So now what do we do?
Okay, for starters, I'll start with point number 1 is, again, trusting your instinct. I know this is a very non-sciencey answer because science deals with logic, facts, proof and everything. But like, if you see a product, for example, the packaging is inconsistent, it just looks very off, basically, it definitely could be off. So that's the first base for avoiding. And then people should also get used to probably now learning how to read the ingredient labels for a lot of these products, because I know some of the ingredient labels could be very complicated and they're very long and you don't understand what is this really.
Sometimes you're told that it contains EE 2091.
Yes, like,
what is EE 2091?
What is this? And also with some of the cosmetics, they are also not it's not a must for them to probably reveal their entire ingredients, all the ingredients that they use in the ingredients label, so that also could be a challenge. But like, also there's some things that you could probably be able to figure out, especially for example with the concentration. For example, let me give a very random example. When you look at the bottle of water and when you go to the elements on the side, not even the ingredients, the elements, and you see like iron, those elements are usually on the side, calcium and all that. So you'd see different concentrations for different things. For example, if a product would have that, it would be easier. For example, if you're looking from the heavy metal perspective, if a product has that particular section, it would be easier to tell, because for some of these products, the baseline is usually 5 ppm. Apart from mercury, which is 1 ppm, it's not supposed to be there. Arsenic, 1 ppm, is not supposed to be there. Lead also lead varies. Some say 20, some say 10.
It shouldn't even be there.
Yes, it should not be there. But then again, that's also the one that the regulatory bodies haven't had a unanimous consensus on what's the limit. So others say 5, others say 10, others say 1, basically. But just a general term, like we would say 5 ppm, which is basically 5 milligrams per kg. If you might not probably understand what ppm is, milligrams per kg. So just generally, again, looking at the packaging, inconsistencies in packaging as a first base generally, and then also number 2, now going down into like now reading ingredients list, you may want to also now look into that. Some people like us like going down rabbit holes, so it's like that is right up our alley basically, just to find out. But yes,
all right. Camilla, thank you for coming. But before I let you go, there's someone who has asked you a question. It's a comic relief situation. Eddie Awino ameuliza, has she done some research on the chang'aa specifically from Siaya? That we are told it's pure, legit and better health-wise than popular brands.
I have no comment.
Are you planning to do the research?
Chang'aa is not a cosmetic.
She's a nuclear scientist.
I am telling you, Chang'aa, we're discussing cosmetics, bro. Chang'aa is not a cosmetic.
But if somebody else wants to pick up that up as a topic, well and good. It's a very valid topic. Yes.
Probably you should do that research.
Yes.
When you get the time.
Valid.
Thank you so much, Camilla, for coming.
You so much.
This has been very insightful. And as usual, I usually tell all my guests, we are all about making this country of ours better. Feel free to come back again and let's talk about how we can help save our skin and our girlfriends and our boyfriends from using some of these harmful
You've
products.
left out wives.
I said girlfriends and boyfriends.
Yes, you've left out wives. Some people have wives. They don't just have. Some even have husbands. So
okay,
be all inclusive. To others.
So we invite you back again to talk and see. Help us have this conversation and see how we can help the people that we spend the night with to have a better life. All right, so folks, it's been real. It's a Friday. CT and I are out. See you on Monday, bright and early on the People's Breakfast. Right now, though, here's Soki Brenda with the news.
Radio